What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Fast Life Podcast. Me and my daughter are here in California, sitting in a sketchy Motel 6 in Indo, California. About to get back on this highway and go all the way down into Venice Beach. Yesterday in Phoenix, we stopped into Paint Huffer and did a pretty long-awaited podcast. I've been trying to get a hold of this dude, or we've been trying to link up for a long time, so it's awesome that it kind of fell into place and made it work out this well. I don't have a lot of bandwidth left on this month, so I'm going to keep this super short and simple so we can get this thing uploaded and give you guys something to listen to this week. So I want to thank our sponsors, Texas Performance MC down in Cedar Park, Texas. Been doing this stuff with us since day one and helping us keep this podcast rolling. Mark is a close friend of mine that I almost reference now in every podcast. But he does great work, man. He's a master at his craft and takes his job very seriously, like you would expect any grown adult to do. His full service dyno tuning and performance shop down in, like I said, Cedar Park, Texas, which is a northern area of the Austin, Texas area. If you want to give him a follow on Instagram, it's Texas Performance MC, and if you want to go check him out online, just put a .com on the end of that. I also want to thank Paint Huffer MetalFlake, who is also the guest on today's podcast. painthuffermetalflake.com, and if you want to go on to Instagram and see all the amazing painters, which we talk about in this podcast, Paint Huffer MetalFlake on IG. He's doing a lot of rad shit. You're going to hear all about it in this podcast. He's taking his company to new levels and bringing on new products that are branded as Paint Huffer products. I'm proud of this dude. I'm happy to see him grow, and I'm happy that we've been able to help, create substance to his business, as well as he has created a lot of substance for ours. So thank you again, Brian. painthuffer.com if you want to order some shit. And if you listen to this podcast, you hear they're having a Labor Day sale this weekend, so check that out. Great time to get in and get some flakes, or just stock up on some stuff, so check that out. Also want to thank Horsepower Inc. On Instagram, Horsepower Inc. I'm fucking up. It is early-ish. HorsepowerInc.net, Horsepower Inc. on Instagram, and Horsepower Inc. Indy on Facebook. Check these guys out up in the Indianapolis area. Big bore throttle bodies, dyno tuning, and performance for V-twin motorcycles. Yeah, dude, these guys are fucking doing some major stuff up there, and I'm super excited to see some of the exhaust systems are starting to, take shape. So check these guys out. You can get throttle bodies. And they sell a kit basically with everything: intake, throttle body, fucking fuel injectors. These dudes are just putting together, slap on horsepower kits for you guys. So check them out. HorsepowerInc.net, Horsepower Inc. on Instagram. I also want to thank Hard Drive. If you heard the last podcast, before the last podcast, with Zombie Mike, hdtwin.com. Get set up as a dealer. If you're a motorcycle shop and you're not pushing some hard drive products, you're cutting your own wrist, man. You're fucking up. There's no buy-in. You can get set up. Just go on hdtwin.com, fill out a dealer app, and get set up, man. And there's a lot of products, and their book is growing. And if you heard what Mike was talking about on our podcast, it's a company that's in touch with the motorcycle, the people on it, right? They're unlike Harley, but these guys are actually investing their time and knowledge into what is popular and what's important on the spectrum of, what people want to be able to get on their bike. So I'm doing that no justice. So just listen to the podcast with Zombie Mike. hdtwin.com if you want to get set up as a dealer, or if you need to show your not knowing ass dealers what's up, direct them. hdtwin.com. Hard Drive Parts on Instagram. Check all these guys out. Like I said, this podcast today is Paint Huffer MetalFlake. His name's Brian. He's a great dude. He's bringing something new to the paint industry, I think. And we talk a little bit about that in this podcast. But, it's just, he is literally, we referenced this as well, but he is literally like the Dr. Phil of the custom paint game, because I feel like we all talk to him and we all share our trials and tribulations with him, you know what I mean, or our ups and downs. And like when we're happy, we're like, fuck yeah, man, I'm glad to be a part. But when we're down, we're like, hey man, what am I doing wrong? You know, what's this guy doing over here? You know, is he also not happy? You know, it's real weird, but you know, he's doing a good job, man. He's keeping. I don't think he signed up to be that, but he kind of has found himself in the middle of a lot of drama amongst painters across the United States. So we're just happy he's doing this. So hey, check out Brian from Paint Huffer MetalFlake.
Hey guys, you ready to let the dogs out?
Fast Life Podcast Life.
Awesome. It's funny. I feel like we've already done 5 or 6 podcasts, you and I.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? And our schedules, well, my schedule is the one that is just completely hectic. But it's good to see you. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, man. Thanks for doing this. It's hot here, man.
It is hot. And they say, you know, the old, it's a dry heat, but it's a bunch of crap, dude. It's hot. It was hot.
Yeah, it is.
Last week, I think it was about 10 degrees even hotter. So, yeah, it's crazy. But it's cheaper than San Diego. So
yeah, well, I've never been down to San Diego, so I have no idea what, you know, prices. Is it that much higher than like LA and stuff, or?
No, it's comparable to LA. You know, anywhere in California, you're going to be paying a higher price for sure. But it's up there. I mean, it's definitely up there. I think, you know, I have a basic home here, but my house, you know, I have a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house here in Phoenix, and I'm around, I don't know. The price ranges out here are anywhere from like $250 to $300, you know, and there my house would probably be about $8, maybe $9. So it's definitely a lot more. You know, there's no doubt about it. But I'm glad I live here because it's still, you know, my hometown is take that I-8, and I'm home in 5 hours.
So you're originally from San Diego, huh?
San Diego, yeah. I had family that was out here. My father's adopted family is from the old part of Scottsdale, from here. So as a kid, I would come out here and visit my grandparents and hang out and whatnot.
I always thought that like Arizona was that escape from California that didn't. Do y'all have a state tax here?
Yeah, oh yeah, we got state tax.
Man, I don't know what it was. I thought it was like just cheaper, but it was close enough so you could still be relative to California and all the things going on, and you could just kind of jump back and forth, you know what I mean? But I guess you still have a state tax, so it's all, you know, it's not as good as Texas is, but we're a little further.
It's cheaper because everything was just growing out here. I mean, where we are right now, where my shop is here in Chandler, was all cotton farms. I mean, I'd say probably about 20 years ago. I mean, this is just land, and that's the benefit of it. And I'm sure we'll get around to all this, but I built a tattoo shop about 14 years ago, and that was in a very, very small town, and now it's blowing up.
Where was that? Where was that?
It's in Casa Grande. And Casa Grande is, if you take I-10 south of here, it's about 40 minutes south of here, closer towards the 8. It's right in front of the 8. Yeah, right in front of the 8 there. So, yeah, and that's a whole long story there. But I guess I can touch base on a little bit of it. Back in the day, so I was an engineer for a major semiconductor corporation out here in Phoenix, and I got hired on them. They said, hey, you want to move to Phoenix, Arizona? I said, yeah, I'm down. And then I was here for about 4 days in Chandler here doing some training. And they said, hey, what do you think about Tel Aviv? And I said, what?
Where's
they
that?
Said, Tel Aviv, Israel. And they said, you want to move to Israel? And they said, you're going to go over there. That you can be tax exempt. And when you come back here to the States, you'll have enough money you can buy a house. And so, you know, I was 21 at the time, and I was doing an internship, and I said, shit, yeah, sign me up. Are you kidding me? Yeah, that's amazing. So went over there. I worked about 8 years in Israel, came back to the States. This is in 2001, and I had bought a brand new Fat Boy. I just wanted a Harley. I never had a brand new bike. And I was the type of guy where if I had to go around the corner of the store, I ride my bike. I love riding. I'm still that way. Like, I love riding. Riding is like the greatest thing ever. So I was breaking it in, and we were going down to Tucson, which there's a little small city right above Tucson. It's called Ora Valley. And my buddy was taking what he said was a couple pills in the morning for his back, and he had been drinking a little bit. And his front tire hit my back tire as we were coming to the apex of a turn. I'm coming to this turn, and all I heard was like screaming and then lights out. So I woke up 3 days later out of an induced coma. I couldn't talk. I lost my speech. I was fucked up. I mean, bad. So it took me some time after that, but I healed up. I couldn't fly anymore at 36,000 feet with my job. I was flying every day, going to different semiconductor factories and whatnot. So I thought, all right, well, I'm kind of screwed on this deal.
That's exactly what happened to my friend in NorCal that I think I talked about on my personal one, where I had a close friend in Dallas that moved up there and he had a bad wreck, was in a coma for like 2 months. He had a job where he was selling airplane parts to mainly Indonesia. And so he was back and forth all the time.
Right.
And he was so... When I met him, he had a shitty job he didn't like, and then he like found this job in aerospace for what he wanted to be doing, and loved it. And then he wrecked that bike, and he had one of those little half-ass German helmets on that doesn't do anything.
Right.
And he couldn't fly. I don't even know if he still can right now or not.
Arizona's no helmet. You don't have to. You don't have to have a helmet. So I was like, oh, sign me up. This is great. I don't have to have a helmet. I can haul ass and go and have fun. So it was just one of those things that it happened, unfortunately. And then about a year and a half later, even the former company that I was working for I had 5 bosses, and it's kind of like the movie Office Space. You know what I mean? Where the kid has 5 bosses or whatever. They were kind of me, but I was friends with everybody. I mean, they were all. I went to their 40th birthday parties. These guys were like, and still are really good friends. But they came through and they were like, hey, what are you gonna do? I said, you're gonna take your sabbatical and just take some time off and heal up. And I said, well, I'm going to move to this small town. There's a small town out here called Maricopa, and with some money that I saved up, I was able to buy 3 homes, which was really cool, but I was able to rent out 2 of them, and that's how I met my wife. So my wife, while I was over in Israel, was leasing a house for me for about 4 years, and then when I came out to the States after my accident and everything, I had moved in next door to Jamie, and I said, I'm sitting there backing up the U-Haul, and my dog hops out, runs over to her garage, and I was like, oh man, this is going to be great. I'm in, man. This is it.
So you moved right next. So you had 3 houses in a row, or
I had 3. Well, I had a house next door to me on our right side, and then the house across the street, and then it was great, man. So I was
easy
able
to landlord it too, huh?
Well, I was still living in Israel. Yeah. So, but when I came back, one of my tenants was mentioned that he was going to go to work for, and I can say this company, Motorola. So he was going to be moving back up here, actually, over to Mesa. And I said, you know what? I'll take your house. I moved in next door to Jamie, and then 8 months later, married the girl next door. So It worked out perfect. And Jamie was like, hey, you know what? Do you think I could be an engineer? She was working as a CPA for a construction firm up here in Tempe.
And that's a good drive, huh?
And I said, she was, moving back and forth. But back then, the houses were really cheap. When I say I bought 3 houses, I mean, I got them, next to nothing. There was nothing out there in Maricopa. Maricopa was a ghost town at that point. So I had thought I was going to buy 1 house here in Ahwatukee, which is the city next over here to Chandler. And my real estate agent called me and was like, hey, you'd be really smart to do this. And I was like, okay, well, let's do it, So it worked. And then we, fast forward, I had met Corey Miller, the guy that was on the LA Inc. Corey and I became really good friends. And then he was like, man, you draw, do you ever think about doing tattooing or anything? You draw portraits and, you're into this stuff. And I'm like, yeah. He came out to Tucson and tatted me up, and I kind of learned under him and just went through like a mini apprentice or whatever. But I kind of kicked a field goal because in Tucson there was a bunch of tattoo shops, and up here in Phoenix there was a few tattoo shops. Back then, this is right when Miami Ink first was taking off. So people didn't, if you had a tattoo shop, they just thought you were good. There wasn't any, the clients or the public wasn't knowledgeable about what's a good tattoo and what's a solid tattoo. So I literally picked the middle of nowhere and practiced on a community that I shouldn't have. And thank God I'm still there, you know, after all these years. You know, I mean, it's great when we're killing it. You know, we've always done a really good job, and I learned quick. But I've always been one of those that, you know, look, I want to get in there and just, you know, be an informer engineer. You know, I'm real meticulous. I wanted to learn and make sure I wasn't screwing
try to be the
anybody
best
up.
you can. So.
Yeah, so it was a crazy trip and a crazy transition. And then some of my bosses came through and they were like, "You're a tattoo artist? Like, what the heck is wrong with you? What, you really did hit your head." And I said, "No, you know, it's what I've always wanted to do." And I had when I was growing up in San Diego, there was a tattoo shop that was around the corner, and I used to ride by there. My buddy and I would steal his father had a CB 750, and we'd, you know, back it off the side yard. And back then you could buy cigarettes out of vending machines. You know, you put your quarters in the bowling alley and then go grab them. So I'd hop on the motorcycle and we'd go ride. I mean, that was the fun thing to do. But I'd always pass by the tattoo shop, and I thought those dudes were just so cool, sitting out there smoking cigarettes and, you know, looking tough or whatever. But it's changed a lot, man. The whole tattoo world has completely changed, and it's awesome. I mean, you know, now it's like a barbershop. There's so many tattoo shops that are everywhere. It's more like where you're located, and you know, customer service is huge, 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 huge.
I think the power's in the artist's hands a lot more now, where they can actually control the environment that they have. You know, if they, just like with, you know, a lot in the paint, but they have the ability to promote themselves with all these forms of social media we have and stuff like that. So it you don't, I mean, not to say anything bad, but in a sense you don't, I know it's frowned upon, but you don't need a shop like you did back in the late 90s and early 2000s. But obviously it works better when people can at least guest spot or have a home base that they can work out of and stuff, you know. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I even thought about, you know, maybe just taking a spot up here and doing like a private studio and stuff. But you have a bigger sign, and people can see that. The thing about it is even the town that I'm in right now, I mean, I love them to death, but it's definitely a street shop. It's a little banger shop. You know, they're going to come in, they're going to get script, rework, something quick, a rose, you know.
Fendi symbols.
Totally. Exactly. Some traditional piece, quick little bangers. And it's great. It's great. We make, you know, and then I also pierce, so, you know, I'm a licensed piercer, and I guess state of Arizona, you don't have to have a license to be a piercer, but I do. Yeah. So I went and, you know, grabbed a license early on, and I learned to pierce, and I, you know, kind of just built my name up that way, and I was like, all right, hey, go to Brian, he'll do a piercing. So now it's like soccer moms and their daughters, you know, coming in. And
well, you know, the other thing, you know, because I grew up in tattoo shops with my whole family and stuff, so that shit back in the 90s was a lot sketchier than it became after the TV shows kind of more made it to where, like, when I did my small stint doing tattoos, the shops that I was working out of and my friends owned tattoo shops, these places were like, looked like dental offices. These things were clean,
absolutely,
super nice, super professional.
Definitely.
It wasn't like that old, you know, thing that I grew up in the 90s where you got like 4 dirty bikers over there smoking cigarettes the whole time while you know what I mean? It's not the same. So it kind of changed the perspective of tattoo shops and made it to where it was more accepted and not so taboo.
And I saw that too. I mean, my first shop was, you know, 600 square feet, just a small little shop. But when you walked in, it was just flash all over the walls. I mean, we had flashing just everywhere, anywhere that was just covered. And it was nice. It was great. It was a small little place, you know, and I miss that rent, you know, that rent price compared to what we're paying now. But, you know, now we have we have arches, and our place is, you know, really nice, and, you know, it's cool. You have to be that presentable to it. So we kind of went through that transition too, where it was like, all right, let's do in the nice tile and bring it up and, you know, make it presentable. But it's a thing, like, even when I say customer service too, I mean, you can do a tattoo for somebody and do an amazing job, and that's great. But there was this transition where it went, like you said, the biker thing, where it went to guys just being dicks. You walked in a tattoo shop, and it was almost like you were just bugging them. You know, they were like, what do you want? You know what I mean? I used to see that mentality all the time, and I'm like, give me a break, man. When you walk into a Subway, those kids are like, welcome to Subway. They don't care. You know, they can give an ass less. But when you walk in my shop, I'm always, I don't know, I'm just like, hey, what's up, man? I mean, I appreciate you coming in here. You're paying my truck payment, you know, you're paying my mortgage, you're paying something, you know. It's like, hey, sit down, let's do something. And I think, I mean, you can't cheerlead it, but if you're just that genuine, you know what I mean? And I think if you're just like, hey, look, don't forget who's paying your bills. And I think
I think it's about respect too. Like, you got to respect a customer or somebody that's choosing you or giving you the chance to, like, fucking mark their body up for life.
Yeah,
so,
dude, it's
I
one
mean,
shot. That's it. I mean, you can get laser and all that other crap on there, but money comes and goes. I take that extremely serious, man. If I'm going to mark your body, I'm giving 180%. I want that to be, A plus. All day
especially
long.
when tattoos. I really don't remember what the costs or how they were doing them back then, but it seemed like it got to a point where the tattoo pricing just went through the roof, and where it was an hourly thing instead of like a per job thing. You know what I mean?
That is more, I would say, just my own personal opinion on the TV, because then you start seeing people on TV and they're doing, oh, hey, I'm 120 an hour. So, and then what, in 95, YouTube came around. So now all of a sudden you don't need an apprenticeship. Now you need just to be able to watch YouTube at 3 in the morning and then go practice on your buddies.
Yeah.
So then you would have people who would start out tattooing, and they would tattoo, maybe a couple of weeks, and they were blowing people away. All of a sudden you see this kid out of New Zealand who would come through, and he's like, whoa, what did you, how, what, how? And I think it was just migrating from all of the TV shows, and then each of the artists, like Nico Hurtado would put out a DVD.
I got one of them.
And me too.
Yeah.
He gave me one at Hell City here years ago, and same thing I did with when I was a kid.
I use that same concept he does with his tattoos to my airbrush, and that's between that and my friend Ryan Townsend that helped me out. Yeah, using those values and almost painting by numbers. Right. Is the way I airbrush. You know,
dude, without Nico and without Mike DeVries, and actually, let me take that way back, without any of the artists who came before us. But I would say in the painter, in the realism world, Nico, was really one of those founders who started creating the DVDs. Mike DeVries doing the DVDs. Those were game changers, man. That's what took it to another level.
There was a lot of black and gray guys that were fucking phenomenal, had great names, but, I think obviously what made Nico stand out so much is who he was tattooing, where he was tattooing. And I mean, the only other person that was super famous before him was Cartoon,
and man, and I'm a huge Cartoon fan.
The dude's solid, man.
Oh, he is amazing. He's a real gentleman too, man.
I met him a few times, man. He's a solid guy.
I'm not a big guy on, when I meet a celebrity, I'm not like, hey, sign my tits.
Yeah.
What do I care? You know what I mean? They're everyday people. But with Cartoon, I asked him one day, I had a shirt that I had bought at an event, and it was his shirt and everything. I was like, hey, do me a favor, will you sign this for me? He goes, hey, I got my baby, let me put her down real quick, and I'll get back with you in about 20 minutes. And I was like, yeah, no problem. We were at an art show over here in Mesa, at a lowrider show. And it's kind of underground, and you're in this basement thing looking at all this artwork on the wall. And he came up and was like, hey, turn around real quick. Let me see that t-shirt. And he puts the shirt on my chest, and he does a whole freehand thing with it. And I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, dude, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Thank you. That's better than a cheesy autograph or a picture or whatever, But after that I was like, okay, man, I want to be like this guy, and that was really cool. So
yeah, like I said, he's one of those guys that was able to take the fame that he got through doing this stuff and keep his composure and still realize that he is only, not he is only, but he owes a lot to his fans for that being that, on that pedestal. I mean, he worked his ass off to get there.
Oh, yeah.
But it's it's like, if you're on TV and you get pissed off every time someone walks up to you and says, hey, man, I love what you do and blah, blah, blah. It's like, I know that it gets annoying, but you still got to have that professionalism, you know what I mean?
I have some friends who are in that fame as well, and they say, you know what, Bri, I can't even go to the movies. I have to go camping. Just to get out of it.
Yeah.
So, because otherwise people are blowing up my phone, or it's annoying. And I don't know if I want to be that guy. I'd rather be like the bass player in 311. Okay. 311's been around for 30 years or whatever. You know what I mean? But I bet that guy can walk in anywhere. He's not going to get bothered. You know what I mean? But when he gets on stage, people are like, okay, cool. So he has his fame, and then he gets off stage and he is good to go. But I don't know, man. I would never want to have that burden. So
yeah, it's tough, man. I'm saying it's tough, like I know, but I mean, I could imagine it's tough as hell, man. Just dealing with it. But
I was talking to Clean Rock the other night. We're doing some stuff. He's got a hot rod he's doing right now for the Ventura National show. And a guy like that, man, he's on TV every 2 seconds. Oliver Peck, he does all of our shirts and the one that you're wearing and stuff like that too. So yeah, I mean, good people, but I can only imagine what their day to day is. You know, they're going to get hounded and people are going to know them that are in the industry. I mean, you know, but yeah, it's got to be pretty wild to be that on that level.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, the social media like really helped tattooists just blossom like times 10, you know what I mean? Because I mean, there was I joke about this a lot, but my friend Steve up in NorCal, who I'm going to be talking to after, you know, when I go up there, we were in a bar one time, man. This was kind of when, just a couple years after Instagram came out, and when Instagram first came out, the only people that really had like stupid number followings were people that were like famous but like young, you know, like they were active on social media, like models and tattoo artists. Yep. That was pretty much it.
It was crazy.
And so, like, you know, we're in the bar drunk as hell, and of course we're tattooed up. So this guy that has a tattoo shop walks up to us, and me and him get together, and we just become like that. You ever have that friend that you're just an asshole with? Like, it's funny to you. It's funny to you to be an asshole to everybody around you. Right. And I was like, let me see your Instagram, bro. Yeah. And it's like, he had like 1,000 followers. I'm like, oh, dude, you got to be at least 20 to be worth the damn. Here's your shit back. But that's what it was like, man.
Exactly, man. You know, and it was crazy. Isn't it crazy now? I mean, you think about it, like, it's always cool, like, back before social media and all this. If somebody broke out just a bunch of pictures, like if they were like, oh, I just got a bunch of pictures developed. I don't care who you are. People were always like, oh, dude, let me check them out. You know, let me see. This is cool. And now we run a business off of something that's supposed to be just posting pictures.
Yeah.
And that's mind-blowing. I'm like, what the, really? Like, this is just a bunch of pictures, and here we are running a global business, you know? And
what's even weirder about it is, like you just said, like, I know what you mean by, like, hey, man, let me check out your portfolio.
Yeah.
Now it's something people feel like they want to do, like, in private.
Yes.
You know, like, I'll check out, just let me follow you, and then later on when I'm in the bathtub or taking a shit or something, I'll jump on the phone and check out what you're doing. I don't want to do it right in front of you, like, oh, you're into ramen noodles. Okay, that's cool, you know?
Yeah, totally. Exactly. Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's a whole different world in that.
Man, but you know, even I've even attributed like Nico and his bringing, like, I don't know if the right word is technology, but just professionalism and another level of skill into the tattoo industry. It also helped a lot of other art, because he was also started doing oil paintings and other things like that. And in the late 2000s, like, and especially around, like, I would say 2007 to about 12-ish, there was this huge, like, tattoo art cultural movement that you had all this Day of the Dead shit. You had OG Abel going crazy, like, doing shirts everywhere. Right. Yeah. And then you had, like, guys like Fonzie that was going from airbrushing to tattoos. Yeah. It was just this huge, like, blow up of culture. And a lot of it was that more tattoo Chicano style art, but it was, like, coming into everything from clothing, like you had Tribal and all these other brands that were kind of that I think also was a spinoff of what Famous started, kind of more or less.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yep.
So it was weird, man. It was another era that kind of like blew up, and it made art really popular.
Definitely,
in a sense.
Yeah. And I think to touch on that too, it really kind of separated at that point in time. If you weren't able to sit down and draw, it separated you real fast
from
there too.
Other artists.
You would see these art fusion things that would happen at tattoo conventions and stuff, and all of a sudden these guys that were just kind of more of going off of a stencil, you know, or they were more like taking magazines and copying the work and, you know, tweaking them a little bit or whatever. And I'm like, hey man, I've seen that Day of the Dead picture like 20 different times. You know what I mean? By, you know, whatever artist.
That's the same thing that happened with the airbrush thing. You know what I mean? And that's why, like, you know, maybe 10 years ago I would be like, oh man, fuck, I'd love to do some OG Able pieces on a bike.
Right.
But now, like, I wouldn't even touch it. No. Like, I wouldn't even. No, man. I'm like, dude, I can give you his number. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like that, man. It was like, you know, because airbrushing's the same way. A lot of people don't really have. If you asked me to draw something, it would take a while for me to get back into the swing of that, because I used to draw all the time. Yeah. But as you learn how to do, like, even tattooing, like, you learn how to do it. At some point, you know how to do all this shit without even touching a pencil. Yeah. You know? Yeah. Like, usually if you say, hey, man, I want to do this portrait on a helmet. I want to do, you know, my wife. All right, show me a picture.
Yep.
And then you show me a picture. And what I do with a lot, I know a tattoo artist deal with this too, is that, like I paint what I see.
Yep.
So if you give me a shitty picture and I can't tell where her lip starts and ends.
Oh, you're the Ron Burgundy reading the teleprompter.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely, brother. Yeah. Go fuck yourself, San Diego. I mean,
Yeah,
you're gonna do it exactly like that.
And I tell people all the time, I was like, man, the cleaner the picture, the better.
That's
you know what I
it.
mean?
I've had numerous people that bring me something. It's a picture of their father in a movie theater, you know, that's sideways and
Yeah.
has a glare off the sunglasses or something. I'm like, come on.
I did. I
really?
think one of the last like any murals I ever did on like any truck or anything. Mm-hmm. It was a tailgate for a guy. His dad was on there, and he had one picture of his dad. Mm-hmm. Really shitty picture. Really shitty. Like you can just see a couple like I don't know if they're liver sores or some shit on his face,
man.
but he had two dogs he loved. Real clean pictures. So I got this 2 dogs on the side of this portrait of this man, and these dogs look fucking real. Like they're so dope. This dude looks like you just kind of like made it out of salt, you know, on a table, like just kind of shoves.
He looks like E.T. or something.
Yeah, it's just like it was bad. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes, I absolutely know. I used to get to the point where I would tell people, I'm like, hey, look, go grab your husband, tell him to come in here, and I'm going to take a picture of him.
Yeah.
Like straight up. I mean, just we got a photo booth here. I'm going to take a close-up shot. I'll do it.
And that's the good thing about like cell phones, you know what I mean? Now, like you can get good shit.
Yeah.
But see, like on our helmets that we do a lot, we get people that have like badass ideas. People send me, man, I want to do a helmet like this. I'm like, dude, that's a great one. Mm-hmm. But that movie was made in the 70s.
Yeah. There's no, I mean, what am I going to do?
Yeah, so like this helmet I just recently did, this Muhammad Ali one.
Oh, that was amazing.
So that dude had so many like real photo shoots, like real cameras taking pictures of him, not just like something from a movie. Right. So I had plenty of like super high resolution pictures to go off of.
You can bump up the contrast and look
exactly.
at
I can see all the details.
Yeah,
now,
it's huge.
I did a Dirty Harry one a couple weeks ago.
Dude, I remember that. Yeah, of course.
It was hard. It was hard to get. It was hard to see the values. Even playing with contrast on Photoshop to separate some things, it was just hard to pull it out of it.
When I first really started looking at airbrush portraits and stuff, you could tell the same thing that you kind of do in the tattoo world, where you take a picture of it. See, back in the day, we had to take a picture of it, run through Photoshop, change it to black and gray to see if those values still held true.
I do that too.
Right, and that's something that, well, I know you do, because when I look at your pieces, I can tell where the darks are and the darks and the lighter values are there. But, I mean, shit, back in 2000, you know, when I think really in the Kat Von D days when she was first starting, you know, to do portraits, even dare I say some of her portraits were a little bit on the too light of side.
Yeah.
You know, where it's kind of much on there. And I don't know Kat, and she seems like a amazing person, but some of her early portraits, I was like, wow, you know, okay. And it's, you know, but hey, if she wouldn't have done that, then I wouldn't have been able to do what I'm doing. I think that's where all this youth now is coming into it. And it's like, hey man, here's all the tricks of the trade. Like, do this, take your cell phone, run it through an app, get that contrast up, get those values in there, and then go to town. And it's cool.
You said something about how, like, you know, some kid will watch YouTube and learn how to do all this shit and come out like within a year and be like,
oh yeah.
And that, I think, I don't really know a lot, but you know, we touch bases on like, what is it, fucking apprenticeships a lot.
Yes.
And I think the original like old school idea of an apprenticeship for a tattoo shop might be too long now for people, you know.
It is way too long.
You know what I mean?
Back then, I mean, it was kind of a scam. Some of them, I mean, if you know, the way that I looked at it was like, you better find that person who you really idolize and who you want a tattoo like, and go beg them, go convince them however you can, you know, like just sweep the floors, do whatever you got to do to convince them to do that. But what happened is then you started taking the assholes in the game that were like, oh, I've been tattooing for 2 years, I'm going to bring an apprentice on. And they don't have anything, I mean, they're just a piece of shit to begin with. And then they're taking abuse of their apprentices, you know what I mean? And they're out there washing their cars and, you know, doing their laundry or whatever the hell they're, you know, making them do.
Pay your dues.
They're doing everything but tattooing, learning drawing, or learning art. So it became a total scam. I had a guy who came to Casa Grande. There was a shop that was only there. It was there for maybe about a month and a half. And these guys went back to jail. They had started a tattoo shop. And Noah, when he first hired on, he was like, you know, I got my start down the street. And I was like, you're kidding me. He goes, I paid $2,300. And I was like, where did that number come from? You'd think 2,000 or 2,500, you know, somewhat of an even number. But he was, he was like, yeah, they just threw it up the top of their head. And he goes, I paid it. And I learned from people who didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, man. He goes, bro, I sat here with a beer with you and learned more in half hour than I did with any of those guys. And I'm like, wow, you know. And I hate to see people taking advantage of that.
Yeah.
You know, even now on Instagram, man, I can't tell you. And I know we'll get into this paint stuff here in a few minutes. But with Instagram, I get hit maybe, I would say safely to say about 60 times a day on questions. And I answer every one of them because I didn't want to be that guy who was like, you know, blowing people off or whatever, the customer service thing.
Yeah.
But I figure, you know, there's another amazing artist that's in there, somebody who really cares, you know, somebody who's not just trying to, you know, do something and make a quick buck and get out of the game or whatever. But I don't know, man. Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know. I want to help out people. I think that's, you know, to be good-hearted. But yeah, it's got to the point now where I've got help with my social media. I have to, just because I'm a freaking octopus, man. And I'm running around in different directions, and it gets crazy.
There's, you know, when I did a podcast with Adam Sandoval, dude, and he said something really awesome. He goes, it's kind of hard whenever you're trying to like build this media platform of like, how do you find someone that's okay with just following you around with a camera or you know, handling all. It's a weird thing to ask somebody to do. Right. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And
yeah,
you know, that's kind of where it gets to at some point, especially with like YouTube and everything. How, you know, we've been playing with ideas of how we want to put our foot into that door. And I mean, I just don't know. It feels super arrogant to be like, hey, guy, here's what I want. Here's what I'm going to pay you to do. Follow me with a camera. Right. And always have it on and do this. And if I tell you to get it at the, you know, then I feel like, man, like that feels like fake.
Paparazzi
type style, that just doesn't feel
Yeah.
realistic to me. I don't know.
It's crazy, man. A lot of people are like, hey, man, what do you look like? And what is this? And who are you? And all this stuff. And I'm like, you know what, man? I'm just not that guy. Like, you know, I don't know. I mean, I know people in the industry that are. And you'll see me. I'll start to get more in front of the camera there. It's not that I'm camera shy. I mean, man, I used to stand up and give presentations in front of, you know, 300 people in a day. I mean, I'm not stage fright, but again, I don't want to. I just feel like I'm like, all right, well, it is what it is, you know. I don't want to
see, like on our Instagram, like our Fast Life Garage. Like, I try not to post any like pictures of myself that isn't related to motorcycles or painting or something that we're doing.
Yeah, but you guys do it right. I mean, you really do. And I'm not, and you know me, I'm not one of those ass kissers. I'm going to tell you if I like something or if I don't. You know, I think that's a respect value. I think there's a lot of people that are just that way. But no, I love. I mean, when you and I first talked, even before you were doing these podcasts, and I was like, whoa, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? What a great transition. And now look at you, man. I mean, how cool is this?
Yeah,
I mean, you
cool.
know, I get hit up. I just got texted the other day, and somebody's like, hey, man, I'm listening to this while I'm working, and I heard Paint Huffer on there, and that's so cool, man, that those guys are putting you up on there. And I'm like, yeah, they don't know our history or that I know you or whatever, that, you know, you're on the team and stuff, and that's cool. But yeah, it's crazy, man. It's good. I'm proud of you, man. You're killing it with these things.
It's like you know, you don't. I know that most people follow our Instagram page to see paint jobs, you know, and that's cool, or the bikes or something. But we've, you know, I've looked at it as that, okay, I want to build an audience for the bike lifestyle shit that I like to do. So I'm trying to post more of that. Exactly. And then, of course, we're trying to build up this podcast thing. So we're trying to use it to everything. So it's so funny if you look at like a picture of a helmet, it'll get 1,000 something, you know, 2,000 likes or whatever.
Yep.
A podcast picture will get, you know, 200-300, you know, here and there.
Sure.
Unless it's like a picture of a paint job or something like that.
Yeah.
Or if like a picture of, you know, I could take a picture of a set of tins on a table and get a shit ton of likes.
Right.
But I put it on the bike and it's half that. So it's like
crazy.
Weird, like understanding it, but I don't think it really matters. Like I used to be like, man, I want likes. I don't really give a shit.
Yeah.
I just want to put it out there. I want people to, when they see it, it's entertainment to them. Like, fuck, man, look at all this cool shit, or it's inspiring, or
I agree.
It's all these things instead of like getting, you know, bummed or getting, you know, hyped up because, oh, fuck yeah, this thing's got 3,000 likes. Like, it doesn't really fucking matter. You know what I mean?
Who cares? Yeah, all that stuff. I mean, no one's going to care about
you don't
that.
get 5,000 likes and you get a check from Instagram. So
when you pass away, no one's going to be like, oh man, that guy had a shit ton of likes. That guy had 2,000 likes on this, man. You know, he was an awesome guy. No, man, they're going to go off of your character and how you were and your talent. I mean, that's what's cool. When I know that if I hire you to do a job, Jace, it's going to be 120%. I'm going to get my money's worth. And there's not going to be any bullshit. There's not going to be any finesse. You know, we were talking a little bit before we even started this about some stuff, and you know, you have some people that get that and some people that don't get that. And it's the same thing with the tattoo world. You know, anything, you get what you pay for. I mean, bottom line, you do.
You know, one weird thing that I've noticed is, like, I've been in the motorcycle industry for a long time, and it's I know people that have used me for paint since, you know, they got into it or whatever.
I remember you saying, like, you were in the first magazine when you were doing the sport bikes and stuff like
back
that
in the
too.
day.
Yeah.
But it's so funny how, like, I have people that I've done work with, and some of them I've even done business with, that I legitimately get this vibe that, like, they do not want me to succeed at all.
People,
but they want me to do the work for them, and they want me to give them the,
of
like,
course they do.
they want that oh man, that really successful Fast Life Garage shop to do it, but they don't want me to be bigger than them.
That is the worst. You know, you said that recently. I was watching somewhere. I don't know if I was flipping through Joe Rogan. He is definitely a solid human being, and I think he said it right. Like, those people are fucking poison, dude.
Yeah,
I hate all that, man. Those guys that are like, oh, I can't catch a break or whatever. However he phrased that. That was solid, man. I'm like, you know what? That's exactly right. At the end of the day, man, life is short, dude. I mean, life is almost died. You know what I mean? Like, give me a break, man. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where, and I don't know, man. I'm just, dude, this is awesome. I'm stoked, man. We're sitting in an air conditioned room right now. I'm having a beer and I'm enjoying this, man. This is amazing. I'm glad to be here. I mean, it's cool, and I don't take anything for granted. Those people that are jealous and that say, oh, you're lucky, man. You have Paint Huffer. Oh, really? Well, you didn't see me at 4 o'clock in the morning starting this business and still running it. I mean, I think you hit me up this morning. You're like, go to sleep. You know what I mean? And it's people don't see that, you know. We make it look easy. It's like the guy that gets up and surfs a big wave, and you're like, man, look at you. That looks simple. Okay, paddle out. Go try it. You know, it's one of those things. But you're always going to have haters. You always are. And I think sometimes if you do, it's the old thing. You're doing something right. Now, I don't know, man. I don't give a shit.
Different personalities react to different types of criticism. So some people can, you know, they get stopped dead in their tracks when they feel like opposition comes in. And some of people got, like me, I've been thinking about this a lot through other podcasts I've listened to and shit. And I was like, I realized that everything in my life is a competition. Not a competition like I want you to fail, but like if Brian's doing good, fuck, man, I want to be on Brian's level. So I make myself like compete with some imaginary version of you that I'm trying to get better at. That's awesome, whether it's painters, other painters, like I think the worst thing anybody could ever do them in their lives with a grain of salt is just be complacent with their situation.
That's right.
You know, like there are areas like you want to be happy with your family and things like that, but when it comes to your career and just learning more and getting better at every shit and doing more in a day and being healthy, whatever the heck, you know what I mean? It should all be like a competition, even if it's only a competition with yourself.
That's it.
You know,
that is very well said. I think you nailed it. When I see your pictures and stuff that you post, I think sometimes you can see the true people that are your real cheerleaders that'll actually now kind of even DM you. You know, you'll post something on, I don't know, like one of your stories or something.
Yeah, I started doing on the stories.
I'll do that offline. Yeah. I'll be like, hey, motherfucker, dude, this shit's bomb. And I'll send you a message at 2 in the morning and say that. And I think that's cool, you know. I think you're supposed to be that way to your friends and to your brothers. And, you know, don't worry about what the guy is doing. He's not paying your bills. The sun's up and bills are due. I'm well aware of those two facts. And that's what makes me so hustling. But as far as competition, you're going to have competition your whole entire life. You're always going to have somebody ankle biting or trying to come up in there. I mean, shit, we got that.
Somebody that comes out of left field that was doing that shit and just either they got a break or like, you know, like you said when you first met me, like, man, where'd you come from?
Yes.
You know, and I was like, dude, I've been here for a long time, you know.
I don't remember how.
I just reached out to you.
You reached out to me, and I was like, what the fuck, dude? Who are you? Where did you come from on this? And then you and I talked, and we had a great conversation, and I knew instantly. I was like, without a heartbeat. And a picture is worth, the old saying, worth 1,000 words. When I saw your work, I was like, oh my God, this guy. That's it. Done deal. Sold. You don't have to say anymore. I want to know this guy. I want to find out about this dude. This is cool, man. It's like I don't know, something just draws you to it, man. You know, your pictures are badass. You're a talented guy. I want to be friends with this dude. It's cool. You know, it makes you feel good. You get your friends and you can see them succeed and move forward and all that. I mean, I don't know. I guess I get with you on the whole jealousy thing. That's just fucking assholes. If you got people that are counterfeit or fake that way.
In a weird way, I think that it depends on what the jealousy creates. If it creates like pure envy and jealousy, yeah, that's no good. But if it's like if you know, we're real close, we hang all the time, and you show up to the house one day in a brand new truck, I'm like, man, fuck, man, I'm jealous as shit. I want one. So that's to me, that's motivation.
Positive. Yeah, it's positive.
You know, but
sure.
If you get it, and I'm just talking shit behind your back, there was, you know, he fucking financed it again. He
That's
probably
not cool.
rolled it, you know, rolled it over.
Right, exactly.
So it's just the difference of like how you know, flip situations in your head, and you know, because that one is a motivation to make you want to do more. One is a motivation to want to talk. Right. And when you're talking, you're not walking. You ain't getting shit done.
That's right.
So it's just a difference, man. You know, a lot of people feel great about talking. You know, like I love podcasts, but you know, it's like when you start talking, like when everything that's coming out of your mouth is negative, and everything that you're putting back into the world is negative.
Get
like,
the fuck away from me.
Yeah, that gets old real quick.
I put my middle finger up, and I'm just like, you know what, dude? I don't care. I don't care about competition. I don't care about any of that. You're gonna have it. You can't control that. You're gonna have friends that are, you know, fake friends, asshole friends. You know, everybody's got everybody has that. All
these other types of friends are necessary too. I mean, like. Sometimes, dude, like, especially when you're growing up, man, as a human, man, sometimes you're the fake friend. You know, you don't realize it till you get put into a position where, like, oh, shit, I wasn't trying to fuck this guy over.
Right.
Or I wasn't trying to do this, but now I see where I fucked up as a human. So it's all a learning thing on both ends of the fence. And
it is.
One thing I tried to do when I did my life story podcast was I tried to be fair. You know, it's easy to go back and look and point fingers at everybody else that fucked me over.
Right.
But it's hard to go back 2 months before that fucking took place and go, man, I should have went to work that day, or I probably should have been this, or I should have done that. Shouldn't have been talking to that other chick. You know what I mean? Those kind of things.
Just
you know,
be human. Yeah,
absolutely. So it's about learning that
shit. If you keep doing it, then that's when you become the total, you know, plague that nobody wants to be around, because you didn't learn from your mistake. I mean, you're supposed to grow up, and I mean, at the end of the day, when we leave this world, and I'm not a religious guy by any means or measure, I have faith, but you know, I just think at the end of the day, you want people to say, that was a solid guy, integrity. He did what he said he was going to do. He took care of me. He didn't screw me over. He didn't ask me for money. He wasn't trying to, you know, mooch off me or whatever. He's just a solid dude. And I think that's cool. You know what I mean?
There's something real, like, I guess the word's romantic about it, but like that, when you like look at Johnny Cash's like life, you know, he did a lot of just fucked up things, but when, you know, as an old man, you're like, dude, like you're just human.
Just a human being.
You know, and you still did some amazing things, and you gave the world amazing things in return. But and that's the one thing a lot of people, I think, don't think about as well. I was listening to another podcast somebody was doing, and some of the people that do the greatest things in the world, athletes, they're not the best home life, because their life is basketball or football or this, and I found out that like some of these like clubs, you know, as far as like the Cowboys or the Lakers, they have people in place to help them out with that, so that they can focus on basketball, so that they can be the best they can.
Absolutely.
And not have to deal with all these other things in life that a lot of us
keep those blinders on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, keep those blinders on. I'm with you, man. I'm totally with you.
So it, you know, like you look at a basketball player that does amazing, that's cool, man, that's awesome, but you look at an average man that can do amazing things and build multiple businesses that are all have integrity, you know, he's not fucking anybody over to get to the top. You almost got to look at that dude like, wow, like you are not human.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. No, I completely agree with you on that. I don't have any kids, unfortunately, but I envy, you know what I mean? When I see somebody that has a great family life and has the kids and everything. I didn't have kids because I spent such a long time overseas, and, you know, I was gone. When I first met my wife, she was wanting to become an engineer, and now she's in aerospace. But you know, she had told me, she's like, hey, I don't want any kids. I just want to work on our careers and move forward and progress. And so she's like-minded that way. But we go, I mean, days without seeing each other. And we'll, you know, 4:30 in the morning, we're passing each other, you know. But it's great. We work it out. And, you know, like in a few days from now, we're going to be on a beach and we'll be able to spend some time together. But she knows, like, I live here. I
Yeah.
eat, sleep, and huff paint. I put that on my hashtags all the time. I'm not joking about that. Like, live my business.
That's exactly what kind of like what we're talking about. It's like, you know, even for relationships, you know, like when you're with somebody and it's like most of us, especially the driven ones, we're really trying to just be successful. Like it's not that like this job is more important than a family, but failure is more important to me than almost anything. Like I don't want to be a failure.
Yeah. No.
And I feel like,
not at
you
all.
know, if every time we're this close to finishing this project or catapulting what we do to the next level,
Yeah.
you know, it gets hard. Like when you're chicks, well, I want to go on date night. I'm like, man, tonight's not the night, babe.
Yeah.
If we go anyway, I'm not going to be there.
Right.
You know what I mean? My head's going to
Your
be
head's in-
thinking about the shit that I need to be getting done right now.
Man, that is so well said. My wife used to take the phone from me. She's like, "Hey, I need that phone. Come here.
Yeah.
I need that phone." And I'm like, "Fuck, all right, yeah, no problem." Here
So when
go.
you get on the same page though, like that, like you were saying, like, and the time, it's one of the things I hear from all my friends is like, my chick's tripping on me because we never spend time together, but she's tripping on me while we're spending time.
Right, exactly.
It's like,
She's using this time to beat me up.
yeah, making it to where I don't want to be around this chick anymore. So
Right,
I almost would rather go back to doing what I was doing. So it is that, man. And a lot of people, you know, or I think, not that I'm the person for relationship advice, but
No, me neither.
you know, just like being like conscious of like how people are. It's like nobody wants to fight. You know what I mean?
No, not
and
at
so,
all.
So if you're
No.
like, if you're like, I don't know, like when it comes to relationships, man, but so many people, like, I don't know why I end up being the guy that people talk to all the time. I don't know why that is.
Well,
But-
I think it's because it's comfortable and people, I don't know. I mean, if you give a shit, people can see through that, you know, and they can look at it and be like, wow, man, this guy really cares. He wants to know about
I just
what
tell
we're
them to
doing
leave
up
each
there.
other all the time.
Yeah, right.
Like, dude, it looks like it's working out, man.
Sorry.
So how did like, where did Paint Huffer come from? What was the ground level of that? You know?
No, it was crazy, man. It's the old like night before Christmas. I was in there drawing up. Back in the day, we had these called Wacom tablets.
Yeah,
And
I
it's-
remember those.
You
yeah.
remember the Wacom tablets?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had it was like the 21-inch TV that you can like rotate around, right?
Yeah.
I went out and I saved up. I blew like $4,000 on this thing. I'm running Adobe Illustrator through it, and I'm doing some graphic art. And I'm looking at this, and right beneath my foot was an airbrush that I'd had for quite a long time. And I'd, you know, painted back in the day, like in high school, painted cars and went through.
Yeah.
We had like the Votech classes and all that. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, damn it, I need to pick this up. So I went over here in Phoenix in this local jobber here called Space Age, and they've been around here forever and a day, I think since like the mid 80s. And I went in there and I was like, hey, you know what? I'm going to airbrush out, I think it was a helmet. Yeah, but the helmet was the first one that I did. And then, so I went in there, met with their sales, like the guy that runs the store, whatever, his name was Christian. And we became really good friends. And I said, hey, you know what? I'm looking to get back into painting. I need to get an airbrush compressor. And he helped me out that day and whatnot. And I said, you know what? I want to do, like, I've always been into choppers. Always. I mean, since, you know, I used to have posters on my wall when I was a kid, you know,
Yeah.
Street Chopper magazine, just, you know, posting those up with surfing pictures and whatnot. My room looked like Jeff Spicoli. There's no doubt about it. You know, Playboy pinups and all the Iron Maiden posters and whatnot. So that's some fun. So I've always been huge into painting, but I figured, I don't know, I just wanted to get into it. So I was in there and I spent a few days there, met those guys that were cool as fuck. And then they were like, wow, man, you're really loving this. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is like, fuck, where has this been? So I went in there, bought the compressor, started buying a bunch of stuff, and I went to go buy some flake. And I was like, what the fuck? Why is this so expensive? Are you fucking kidding me? A half pound of flake is costing me $64. You gotta be fucking out of your mind.
Yeah.
Are you okay? So, you know, my engineering mind went back into play, and I'm like, wonder if I could ever find out who or where this stuff is manufactured. And in the MetalFlake world, there's one in Pakistan, and there's only two. There's three now, but there's about 2 to 3 that are here in the U.S. that you can actually buy. So this guy Christian and I had a Bug, an old Volkswagen that was sitting in my driveway, and I'm like, hey, you know what? Will you help me paint this? And he's like, yeah, I'll help you paint it. So we painted it, took it to Bugorama, did really well, and I got a phone call about a month later from a guy who's retiring from the Air Force. And he says, hey, man, I want to give you all this money for your bug. And I'm like, what the fuck? You can have it. Sold. Yeah. Done deal. So I took that seed stock money. I went and found a polymer chemist and went knocking on the doors. And this lady who answered the phone shouldn't have told me the information that she told me. And I found out who some of the main companies were using. And I was like, okay, cool. So this guy, Justin, called me back. He's my chemist now. And was like, what are you looking to do? And I said, look, I have all these Pantone ideas, and these are colors that I want to start to create and whatever. And through that fruition, it led into Paint Huffer. I mean, we were literally sitting around, and I would go into the paint shop in the jobber, and they were always like, hey, Paint Huffer's here. And I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, man, you paint so much, you're like Huff and Paint. We just gave you that nickname. And I was joking around with them one night. I say, tomorrow I'm going to come by and shoplift and huff some paint. So I think that's where they got it from.
Yeah.
And just gave me the name or whatever. So I was like, all right. I go, well, let's try this, man. You know what? And I figured I'm going to buy
It's a genius name.
Flake. It's crazy how things, I mean, this whole company came through on a fluke. I mean, just really, they came through it. And I was looking at like Ed Roth Flake and stuff like that. I was like, wow, you know, that's badass. And they got some funny names. I mean, that's fucking awesome, you know? And I was like, well, I don't want to copy them and everything. And then one of my friends came back and was like, no, man, this is a big paint world. Like, you're fine on that. And it's again to that whole competition thing. Like, I didn't give a fuck. I'm just like, all right, you know what? I'm going to hire this guy to make this. And I want to make it, though, an American company. I mean, if I start this, I want to hire, you know, I want to make this pure American company. So, worked with Justin. We came up with a bunch of our whole initial color line and gave him the money, and I went forth. And then about, I would say probably about 3 weeks after I launched, Troy Lee Designs, Troy himself, had contacted us and said, hey, wow, you know, who are you? This
Had
is
you already
badass.
made the Instagram page and stuff like that already?
I had some of my chopper stuff on there that I did, and I did it for some professional skateboarders. There was a skateboarder who hit me up that I had his pictures on my wall from like Thrasher magazine when I was a kid, and I was like, what the fuck? You're hitting me up? You want me to do a tank for you? I'm on it. Are you kidding me? So I had already kind of developed a small name and just, you know, going through there. And then Tristan over at Troy Lee had called me and said, hey, Troy wants to talk to you, and he's interested in your stuff out there. So I went out to Corona, and then across the street was Fender Guitars, met with them, and then Fender became Specialized Bicycles, and these are all the people that we do flake for now. So it just progressed. But the way that it kind of happened in that sense of it, I started posting more on Instagram, and then all of a sudden, like, I'm not a sales guy, and I fucking hate salesmen more than anybody. But these guys started knocking on my door and was like, hey, man, I want to try some of this Blow Flake, or I want to try some of this Mary Jane or Firecrotch or whatever else these names were. And I knew that just I want to make it fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just make it branded, make it fun, but make it a USA flake. Because the stuff that you buy on eBay is just that cheap Pakistan shit. Now, mind you, there's companies out here that are coming up even now who say that they're made in the United States, and we know damn well they're not, because when a company comes up with like 100 colors at once, they get them off of containers, right?
Yeah.
And they'll go into different ports. If they go into Florida, if they go into the East Coast ports, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, we're USA made. I'm like, well, no, you're packed in the USA. You're from the Pakistan plant, asshole. So that's the big difference. And the thing about it is when we first started making this flake, I said, well, look, if we're going to be putting this, because a lot of guys will put it under clear coat. They don't even use an intercoat or whatever. Clear coat will have a UV inhibitor into it, but we had seen problems with even local companies like Space Age. They had a company that was there, and man, they can't even sell the flake. I mean, they had it like in bins and stuff. It would just color flake. I mean, they would put a red flake would turn pink in 2 months.
I've had brands that you know I've tried before we started doing business, and it seemed like they weren't solvent proof.
That's it. It's exactly
like it's almost like once you know whether you put it in some intercoat clear, it's like it's like the longer it was in the intercoat clear, the more the flakes broke down.
Flakes will do that. Like if you take DBC 500, it has a high flash point. So, it has a hot flash point, I should say. So if you put it in DBC 500, any flake, even if it's UV coated or whatever, if you leave it in there longer than say 5 to 10 minutes, you're going to have a little bit of color distorting. Those are hexels. I mean, it's like a hexagon, right?
Yeah.
So it's it's polyethylene terephthalate thin films that are on there, and those will break down. The chemical will break it down, and then you're going to have a cup full of like neon green, right? So when we first developed that color, it would break down pretty quick, and I'm like, shit, okay, well, I don't want to launch this color yet. Let's make sure that we're sustaining, and that we have a a good shelf life if they're going to mix it in whatever brand of intercoat or just clear coat for that
Dude,
matter.
your SilverFlake, I literally have like a lid that I put on it. So if I have like 2 or 3 ounces left over, I leave it in there, and then when I go mix flake again in a couple of days, I just open it up.
That's it.
Pour more in there, and I have just a can that I keep
It's
full
all
of
that
silver
UV
flake.
coating, and that's what separates a lot of it. People are like, you'll see like the hashtags I put on there. I'm like, we are, color resistant. It's not gonna. There's no fading. You know what I mean? You can try it. Try to make it fade. Do whatever you can do, but no.
Well, I think one of the main things that drew me to the company is the company itself. Is like, first off, you're not selling us something that's super expensive, right? So we're not. You don't have to sell me on like, hey, dude, you come with us and you're saving thousands of dollars on your car insurance. No, it's not that. Like, I feel like you're getting into this team,
Right.
whether you're Team Paint Huffer or not.
Right.
You're still getting loved by Paint Huffer.
Oh yes.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And so I think what you did something on Instagram that no other company's done,
Right.
and it sparked a lot of thought in my head. Like, man, like it almost resentment to which I brought up a lot earlier on in this podcast, where I was like, well, I kind of want that same love from these other companies. It's not so much about getting something for free or anything. It's just like I hate saying this, but House of Color pays me to go to fucking SEMA last year.
Sure.
Does not one thing on social media to say, hey, the Fast Life Garage is going to be here. That's going back earlier, what we were talking about, how like why I started kind of barely putting my face up. I never felt more out of place when I was at SEMA, and everybody there I know follows us.
Oh yeah.
But nobody knows what the fuck I look like. So I'm just standing there like, just alone, like fuck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was an awkward place.
Well, I had talked to painters, and I'll touch on that real quick, that were like, Jace, man, he's the greatest guy, and he's the nicest guy, and the guy is solid and everything. And I had heard your name, and then when we first started Paint Huffer, I had people just knock on the door. We had Troy Lee, and then they kind of took off from there. Everybody was like, hey, we did a couple helmets with them, and then it was like, whoa, holy shit, this is like, top tier athletes that are using or that have my product on their helmet, and I'm like, get the fuck out. I'm watching, Indy 500, this guy's got his helmet flaked out with his stuff, and I'm like, oh my god. So it was pretty, humbling. It was very nice, and then all of a sudden, I had other painters that were renowned that were calling me and were like, hey, can I try your stuff? I'm like, yeah, of course. You kidding me? Like, I'll sponsor you. And before I knew it, I had a group of like 10 top tier painters, and these guys would come back to me. They're like, hey man, House of Color is not doing shit for me. No company is. PPG, Exalta, I'll say that. A lot of these companies were just by the wayside. They had some people that they sponsored, a couple painters here and there.
But we're talking about major companies, like big corporation
big dollar
companies.
Too. Big dollar.
They could afford to put 10 people on their team. You know what I mean?
Oh, they could easily do that. So it got to the point where I was getting contacted by House of Color and even Valspar when they were going through that whole acquisition, and they were like, hey, don't tag Paint Huffer. I got a call one day from, I won't say names, but from somebody from House of Color, and she was like, hey, are you a lawyer? And I said, what do you mean? And she goes, what's your background? And I said, engineering. And she goes, oh, okay. She goes, well, who are you? How is it that you have all these painters? She goes, are you paying these guys? I said, not a dime. Not a damn dime. I go, why? And then she goes, well, I said, but let me ask you something. Why are you telling people not to tag us on there? And she was like, well, we just kind of were like offended by the name, and we didn't want that tag on there. And I was like, that's a bunch of bullshit. Who cares about the fucking name? Yeah. I get it. If we were selling stuff like at a toy store, I wouldn't have Paint Huffer, obviously. I don't want to be offending somebody that way or be derogatory that way. But we're talking about a jobber shop, a paint shop where, the markets are, and shit like that in the and they're over 18 that are walking in there buying paint and all this shit anyways. Even if they're not, like, who fucking cares? You know what I mean? So I just had my middle finger up to House of Color for a minute there, and then House of Color starts putting up stuff that's flaked out with our stuff. on their page.
Yeah, I think that what happened was the lady you talked to is no longer there anymore.
That's correct. Well, what happened? So, and I have a great relationship with her now.
Okay.
Like we are solid.
I've never met her.
She is a sweetheart. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
She is a sweetheart. We had a great conversation. She says, "You know what, Brian?" She goes, "It was just more of a, we didn't know who the fuck you were, and we didn't like the fact that you were coming in and stealing all these top tier painters." And I said, whoa. Again, I'm not a salesman. I'm not stealing anybody. You know what I mean? Like, I'm definitely just somebody who gave a shit about these artists and said, "Oh, you need some flake? I got you. Not a problem at all." You know, and that's the way it's always been. Like, if somebody hits me up, they're like, "Hey, man, I need a pound. I'm working on this project. I'm doing this or whatever." Now, I can't afford to do it to every Joe out there, but if it's somebody who I think is going to represent our company, and then we built up this whole empire of all these artists. Like, we looked the other day, and I'm like, oh my God, like, that's it. Like, we've got every.
So, you know, Matrix. Matrix is what I mainly spray with.
Absolutely.
And,
great.
So, my buddy Ron used to be, he's with House of Color now. He's pushing all this stuff. But before he went back to House of Color, he was pushing Matrix, and Matrix was growing big.
Oh, yes.
And, you know, and I got excited, and I'm more of a doer kind of guy. So when I get excited about something, I'm like, fuck, like, what can I do? You need help? You want me to pack something? You know? And then with the acquisition of, they got bought out by Valspar,
sure.
And then they took him and put him back into House of Color.
Yeah.
And then the Matrix thing just has been stagnant.
Right.
But I have another close friend that's a regional guy for Matrix. He's an amazing guy. His name's Brian Lynch. He's a great friend of mine. Taught me so much shit about painting. So I reached out to him, and he said, you know, it's like, I was doing my gold FXR. I was like, hey, dude, you know, I would, you know, I'd spray all your stuff.
Right.
Do you think you can get them to sponsor the materials on this thing?
Absolutely.
Got it. Everything I wanted, everything I asked, got it for me.
Nice.
Matrix hasn't gave me one. I've given them all the content they could ever ask for from a paint job.
Right.
The start to finish paint job of the process.
Right.
And that bike sitting on every fucking cool thing motorcycle wise in the country.
Exactly.
And they don't. Their Instagram page is a fucking joke.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep. No social media.
Yeah, and so it's like
the heart's not there. They don't give a shit about their artist. I mean, this is all stuff where I surf. So if I paddle out and I see that wave coming in the lineup, I'm paddling out. I'm gonna catch that wave. And so and that's where I got lucky into this, was because we had those top tier painters like yourself. But that's where House of Color was failing. I mean, they had Craig Frazier. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the only name I knew. You know what I mean? I'm like, you're sponsoring one guy?
Well, I mean, they would do stuff like I mean, I don't know the details. I'm sure that some people got, you know, maybe a check or something like that, but maybe not. I don't know. I think that, you know, if they can't do something for me on a social media standpoint as far as helping promote me like I promote their products,
right,
then they need to cut me a fucking check.
I'm nothing without my artist.
Yeah.
You know, I don't paint. I mean, I'm out there. I haven't painted in 4 years, 4.5 years. We're working on projects now and stuff like that, but my day-to-day is business. You guys make or break me. That's I run Paint Huffer off of that. So we have this great love with our artists. We take care of them and work it that way. But when I develop a product too, it has to be integrity of product. You could say, oh, Brian's a nice guy. We like Brian Kennedy. Yeah, he's a great dude and all that. But his product sucks. I see a lot of companies that have started over the past couple of years that way. And they're like, oh, wow, this person's a great person, but their clear coat or their inner coat delams, or this is a product from there. And you're like, well, you just shot yourself in the foot. You didn't do any testing. We didn't run it. You know what I mean? And like, really check it out. So we got lucky. The fact that Danny D, Buck, Scott, Chemical Candy Customs, all these guys were like, you know, they took a shot with me and they were like, hey man, you know what? We fucking love it. It works. We love you and let's go. And then in turn, I'm like, hey man, whatever the fuck you guys need. You know what I mean? Let's do this shit. Let's have fun and just come up with some funny fucking names and rock the house. But to get on for you though, you should have been taken care of. Bottom fucking line. I mean, they can get you a hotel room all they want, and they can get you this, but I mean, come on. You know what I mean? They should be sending you a pallet full of shit and saying, hey, look, thank you. You're the guy that's running the commercials.
Well, you know, and I guess maybe, you know, there's a million painters out there that listen to it, or not a million, but there's a lot of painters that listen to this and they're like, fuck, man, like, if I can get anything, it'd be nice.
Yes.
You know, when I've reached out to you, I say, hey man, do you have a contact in this company? I'd like to just see if there's some way I could get in with them just to use, because I use their products all the time.
Right.
You know, so it's not like it's not like you call me and go, hey man, I got this new tape.
Yeah.
You want to try it out? They're looking to
No.
sponsor artists. I'm like, okay. And then next thing you know, I'm having to do a post with their shit, but then take it off and put the shit I'm using on there.
Right, exactly.
Like, I don't want to do that,
No,
you know?
no,
And,
definitely
you know,
not.
like,
Yeah.
it's another thing that I was kind of talking about with a friend of mine that's in the collision side of things is I feel like there's this bubble taking place in the paint material market where, and this is no facts whatsoever, this is just a pure feeling to where it's like every year you get that increase. 3M throws they throw that sheet out, you know, $1 more tape, 75 cents here, PPG the same thing, to the point where, dude, there's no, like, I would have to, for a dyno that I might charge $4,000 to do, using all PPG 100% across the board, I would have to charge almost $8,000 to do that.
Absolutely. Price increase. You know who our enemy is the Postal Service.
For real?
For they fuck us over left and fucking right. And I know other people, I've seen podcasts from, Danny Dixon. I've seen him post up about his frustrations about it as well. We just had a fucking $1 increase. The other night, I'm going through all of our daily orders, right? I'm running through this with Soji. And we're like, what the fuck is going on? The shipping is $23. Let's say that it's going over to England or whatever. And when it's coming out on my end, because we ship out everything 4:30 every day and at midnight. Like, we don't fuck around. Like, there's like, I'm not Amazon, but so help me God, dude. I hate it when you buy something and they're like, oh, okay, and then 5 weeks later you're getting it mailed out to you.
Yeah.
No, man, fuck that. Like, and that's why you see us filming all the time. We're always, very due diligent that way. We're like, hey,
Well,
fuck
you're
this
being
shit.
transparent too, like we were talking about earlier.
I'll throw it up there. I mean, you want to see what I'm doing for the day? Like, there's a lot of companies that are like, oh, we're so busy, we're doing this or whatever. And I'm like, hey, I'm not trying to cheerleader. I'm doing two things. I'm being thankful, but I'm showing our daily hustle. Hey, we're not sitting over here, outside skating the ramp. No, fuck that, dude. We're in here pulling your fucking order. You just put an order in with me. We're going to take that respect and get it the fuck out the door. But back on this post office thing, now the cheapest way, we can't go through UPS. UPS to send out 2 jars of flake would be about $30.
Damn.
Now that's way more than your cost of good, right? So if you look at it from a business analysis sense of it, the USPS Postal Service, if it ships it 1 to 3 days priority, depending on what your zip code is great. So I'm getting their stuff out and they're getting it in a timely fashion. But we had an increase back in May, and now we're having another $1 increase. And I'm like, you motherfuckers, dude. So Soji and I are sitting here the other night, and I'm going, wait, it's costing me $28 to ship this one, and the customer is only paying $23? So the other night, I probably ate about $100 to maybe $200 just in overages, for USPS. And I'm like, y'all are fucking assholes. That's like the IRS type shit. You know what I mean? They're not going to put a note out there. So you try to go talk to them, and they're like, oh, well, we're not really allowed to disclose that, and we don't have any information. You can look on our website for that. And I'm like, guys, you're fucking killing. Just give me the heads up. Just say, hey, look, next April, we're going to move it up a buck.
Yeah.
That way I can, tell my customers and say, hey, look, here it is. This 1 jar of flake, you're going to pay $1 more for shipping. You're going to pay, they won't pay $1 more, but they're going to pay 20 cents more, which is still money, know?
It adds up on the small scale.
Yeah. And you have somebody like yourself, you're trying to budget out a job, and you're trying to factor in all of your costs, your bill of materials, and you come in there, and then, a company's just screwing you around on price or whatnot. That's not cool, man. And then you can't put that savings into your own customers. I mean, it's just across the board. And I think, I don't know, man. I look at it as like a working man's company. Like, I love what we do, and I'm not, I don't know, man. I'm not Jay-Z out of my boat. You know what I mean? Like, I love this, man. I wake up. This is something that I take very seriously. When I die, whether it's 5 minutes or 50 years from now, somebody's going to be like, hey, remember that company, Paint Huffer, with the funny name or whatever? Like, they say leave your mark in this world. Well, fuck, dude, I'm pretty honored that I'm going to have something in the art world that'll, be there someday for people to look at, and I don't know, maybe we can keep it going for as long as it is. I'm down to ride this wave out, but I surely will give a shit. I'll be up there still at 3 in the morning. You know, and I don't know if we'll still have an Instagram. We'll probably have some other social media or something like there. But we need progression. We do. And I definitely am, you know, as a company, I want to move us in other directions. We've got a lot of, you know, amazing ideas and stuff. But the bottom line, there's companies that say, oh, I take care of my customers. And then there's people that just shut the fuck up and do it. You know what I mean? And that's how we are. We're like, hey, look, we're not... You don't see me on there making a video today going, hey, I'm going to take care of you guys tonight. And, hey, thank you, Billy Joe from Tennessee, for putting this order in. I'm not calling people's name. I'm not like on a talk show. You know what I mean? I'm just I'd rather film my workers and say, hey, now, mind you, I will get in front of the camera, and I need to start doing more of that so people know who the fuck I am, I guess. But I don't care. You know what I mean? All I care is making my bills. You know, like I said earlier, sun's up, bills are due. I'm well aware of that fact. So I'm going to work my ass off every day. But people can see through the bullshit. They can tell if a company really cares about them or if they don't. And I'm not trying to knock House of Color. I mean, shit, we sell all the, you know, I'm not coming out with a candy line. I can say that right now because the KK line is phenomenal. I use it. I don't want to even, I don't give a shit. What I am going to do is I'm going to get into intercoats and more into the clear coats, and we've been testing some stuff even over the past couple of years. Taylor Schultz has been running some tests for me. He's you know, running some stuff over the past couple of years. He's like, hey, I like this, Brian, I don't like this. And you need that. I can't go off of Joe Blow down the street that nobody knows of. I got to have somebody who really knows what they're doing.
Well, also, you know, maybe the one thing that I try to talk to people is like, the custom paint industry is not the collision industry. Right. You know what I mean? So when you're making products or you're selling, you know, me a clear coat that I need a $60,000 paint booth to make it do what it's supposed to do. Right. You're not selling me a practical product. You know what I mean?
Not at all.
And so like what happens is like you got companies that do have all this fancy ass equipment that a custom paint shop does not turn that kind of profit. Right. To be able to afford that type of machinery. So, you know, certain clears just don't make sense for us.
That's right. I have to cater the guy shooting it out of his garage. And out of his house. And, you know, he's in there with his wife just putting up the plastic tarps or doing the PVC, you know, spray booths or whatever. That's my guy. I mean, that's my clientele. I mean, I know, and I'm well aware of that fact. So you hit that on the head. When we're developing a clear in an intercoat, I have to know that there's different humidity, temperature factors into that. Like, you're right. It's not just this beautiful, solid 77 degree booth, 72 degree booth that's on there. I am well aware of that fact. But, I mean, damn, dude, if I don't love this. I mean, I look forward to every fucking minute of this. I look forward to this. Like talking, you and I talked the other day for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. Just about paint. It's fucking awesome, man. You know what I mean? It's like, we didn't even have shit. I don't know why you called me or why I talked to you.
We were talking, you know, I ended up telling you, you were telling me some other things, but it was like, you're the Dr. Phil of all the painters right now.
Oh, dude. Fuck if I am, man. You know what I mean?
Everybody calls you the vent.
Fucking drama from one East Coast to this one, and it's like a rap battle every day. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm the guy in the desert with the flake. Y'all want some flake? I got it. Y'all want some drama? Get the fuck away, man.
Well, that's why we've we've taken the initiative to try to present a different way of looking at, you know, competition, especially with social media that we have now. Because, and I've said this so many times on here, I don't want to bore people with it, but there's a lot of people that really do get that. Remember we talked about that jealousy earlier? It's not competitive jealousy. It's to where they're just mad.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
They're just fucking angry.
Oh, man, that dude stole my style. That dude, like
give me that fucking break.
All kinds of shit. I sprayed that color combo first.
Get the fuck out of here.
It's just all kinds of shit,
dude. It's just poison, man. That's exactly like what Rogan says all the time, man. That's poison. Get the fuck away from me. You know, I'm 45 years old. I don't want to fucking hear it, man. I want to pay my bills, have a blast doing it, and go the fuck home, hang out with my awesome wife, and just fucking chill. But, I think that's... You know, you're always going to have that. You are.
But, you know, it's like none of us had an alternative. None of us have, you know, growing up in this thing, no one's, there hasn't been anybody going, you know, there hasn't been a ground level dude saying, you know what, man, like what I'm trying to say. Like, hey, dude, this dude did it that color and you've done it that color. Now, what do you, fuck you going to do now?
Right.
You got to do something better next time. That's called... that's called competition. You know,
that's fucking
there's a CVS across from that Walgreens for competition.
Absolutely.
There's an O'Reilly's across from that. So it's like we have tools now with social media and the ability that you can start your own fucking website by watching a YouTube video one night.
Absolutely. Yep.
And you can have your own website, and then you can promote yourself through your website. And then most of us, even for the most part, when it comes to motorcycles and things like that, we can get our shit shipped from anywhere in the country.
That's right.
Or if you're good enough and you want, like what I did for a while, I used to get flown to shops all over the country. So I would show up with an airbrush and a pinstripe brush and be like, where do I sit? You know what I mean?
You know what? And I think the great thing about you and you doing this podcast is you fucking know everybody. I see you, and the number one attraction that I was like, dude, this dude's cool, motherfucker. I want to know this dude. When you and I talked a few years back, and you had called me, and I was like, whoa, and you were like, yeah, I'm getting on my bike and I'm going to, like, let's say Oklahoma. You're doing a camp out here on September 5th and 7th. Sorry, September 7th. So, like, that's fucking awesome, man. You're going to get on your bike and you ride and you go. And you're not one of those guys that just, like, you're like me, dude. You would just, I don't know, you have fun and you go. You don't just have a bike to have it in your fucking garage. So I had that thing where it clicked. I was like, all right, this dude's cool, motherfucker. I got to know this dude. And then I saw
the one thing about that is that, I grew up around men that told me one thing but never came through. So I've always had that kind of like if I say I'm going to do something, or then it's always been like more important than everything that I come through on my word.
Oh, yes, definitely.
And so, when it comes to like, whether it's riding across country, this, that, and the other, like I find myself, I hate to say this word leading, but leading a pack of people into something, because a lot of people just don't want to be the ones that take the steps, and I'll be that guy.
You're like, fuck it, let's go in the mosh pit. Yeah, I'm not sitting with my back against the wall.
I'm not going to let this opportunity pass, and then us, 2 years later, like, man, we should have did it that time, because now there's no way I can do it.
I love that. You know what? And that's where it is with any business. There's a million painters out there, but I think there's a difference. There's not a Jace who hustles like Jace. There's not a Brian who hustles like Brian. Yeah, you can start a flake company tomorrow. Go ahead. Yeah. But I guarantee you, I'm going to be the motherfucker up there at 4 in the morning who is taking care of my artist, who is busting his ass. I'm going to give it 100% more than you are.
Model now. So the only model there is to follow in doing a flake company is to do yours. So you're always going to be the guy that copied somebody else.
I appreciate 100%. That. I'm going to give it my all, and I think that's the competitive. But I think that's positive competitive. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not calling those companies and being like, "Hey, what the fuck are you doing? Why the hell did you start a company and everything?" No, fuck that. Fuck that. You're going to
look good anyway.
Hey, Dad, that's a horrible way to be. That's a whole being a poisoned person. Nobody cares about that, dude. Nobody gives a shit about that.
No one's going to look at it and go, hey, dude, he's right. We should send him his money because that guy copied him. Like, people like drama, and if you give them that reason, they lose respect for you.
Yeah.
Like, when have you ever looked at anything like on fucking Jersey Shore and go, you know what, I respect those chicks. No, it's drama. It's comedy. They're fucking monkeys jumping around in a stage. That's all they are to you. They're not people that you respect, you know?
Man, my company, I want people to be known that they're just like, dude, and that's my little tiny soapbox is that, hey, you put an order in, I'm going to fucking be out there at 1:30 in the morning pulling it, and you're going to get your product. And then if you ask me a fucking question, I'm going to answer it. I'm not going to blow you off. There's not going to be, oh, well, thanks. These guys are too good for us. No, I mean, I'm gonna do my best to do that, and if I can't answer it, one of my guys on the team will answer it. You know what I mean? We're gonna treat you with respect. It's an easy formula that a lot of companies have fallen by the wayside of doing that, but I think that's what's so cool about your podcast. It's an attraction. Like, wow, you know what? This guy he's living. He's out there. He's in that mosh pit. He knows everybody that showed up to the show. He's in there shaking hands and moving stuff. And you're doing something that, I mean, yeah, there's a million podcasts out there, I guess, now. But when you first came into this, well, I mean, I don't know anybody.
There was a bunch of podcasts. I mean,
were there?
There's always a bunch of podcasts, man.
Yeah, well, yeah, sure. I mean,
but, But it's the same thing like when we were talking about doing like we've been kicking this idea of doing a vlog thing and a video shit and YouTube stuff. There's a ton of motorcycle vlogs.
Oh yeah.
But there's none with our perspective.
Right.
And you could say that about everything, whether it's your own podcast. And I tell people all the time, I was like, dude, if you want to do a podcast, try it.
Yeah.
But just be willing to play the game long enough to really see if it's going to pan out. Exactly. Most people want instant results.
Oh, they do.
Totally. It just doesn't happen,
It's the guys that I hire, like in the in the tattoo world that would come in and they're like, oh, I want to do an apprenticeship or whatever. And they get so frustrated that they're, fucking up. And they're like, these customers are mad at me. And I'm like, yeah, no shit, Einstein. You're not just going to walk in and be an amazing tattoo artist or somebody there. You have to impress yourself. I mean, fuck all that. You know what I mean? Like, you really have to impress yourself. It gets to the point where you're like, would I want a tattoo from this guy? Would I want a tattoo from me? Would I want to buy a product from me? Or, and I think a lot of people just don't answer that. So there's I'm proud of you for doing this podcast, and I'm definitely, I don't know, man. I think, I'm just going to throw it out there that I think more companies, I get so much feedback from people going to SEMA, and they're like, yeah, these guys didn't take care of me, or they didn't take care of me on that, or they didn't buy me a hotel room or whatever. I'm like, man, you guys have bigger budgets than I do. I'm just a small little company here in Chandler, Arizona. Now, we're global. I mean, yeah, we sell all over the world, but I don't have a budget but I make that fucking budget. I'll go out there and work my ass off to get that separate money to do that and say, hey, look, you know what? I'm going to take care of you, man. You want this? Yeah. Boom, go. I had somebody ask me recently, they're like, well, man, you got 40 plus people on your team. And I'm like, I do. They're like, how the hell do you afford that?
Well, it's also
I work my fucking ass off.
It's also like, like the people that like we're a sponsor, but I don't hit you up every day going, hey man, I need that, I need this. It's about it's the crying wolf thing. Like, you don't want to I don't want to bleed you dry because one day I might be like, hey dude, I really need some of this flake right now.
Exactly.
And we had the terms that you said at the beginning, and it's like I don't need that all the time. I have a whole stack of flake that I haven't even got to use yet. Right. I mean, I do run through silver like it ain't nothing, but
there's times like, I don't know. I mean, even a couple of weeks ago,
you sent me the pearl.
I said, yeah, I don't give a shit. I'm just like, hey, man, you need this? Boom. I mean, it cost me $20, but I look at it this way: is like, if I made this much, and I have this much in my wallet for the day, if I can give away $100 or do whatever from this, then yeah, dude, it's called marketing 101. You're gonna run a commercial for me. You know what I mean? How cool is that? You know what I mean? Like, that's a gentleman's handshake.
That's the model that social media has created that I think these older companies haven't been able to adopt. They don't see the value because their selling point is a jobber.
Right.
So their jobber gets some surplus to kind of like, hey man, you want to try this clear? You want to try this? Which rightfully so, but they should also what I tried to, I don't know if I did it on here, but I tried to say there should be a way that like certain painters, when it comes to companies like House of Color or PPG, and there might be, and if I'm saying this and there is, I'm sorry, I'm an idiot.
Yeah, no, it's all right. Yeah.
There should be a way that painters should be able, if you're in cahoots in some kind of way with House of Color, or you're a SEMA artist, or you're this, I should be able to log in on y'all's website and order direct and get a jobber price.
Yes.
Exactly. I don't expect to get $3,000 materials for free every month.
But you need some love.
Yeah.
You need some fucking love, man. When you're going in to price out this $8,000 bagger and you're like, shit, I got this.
Dude, that's the thing. These two baggers. These two baggers that I'm doing that I just finished is
right? Yep.
Decent sized paint jobs, decent prices on them, but 2 helmets and a Dyna, and that's a bagger.
Yeah.
And more profitability because the baggers roughly cost me between $1,000 and $2,000 per bagger in materials.
Absolutely.
So even at $10,000 in the 4 weeks it takes to do one thoroughly and professionally, it's not worth it.
No. It's so frustrating in that end of it, and I think that's where they kind of came into me and as well.
And it's not even the paint. It's not the paint store's problem. I mean, the bagger industries have its own setbacks right now, and it doesn't help that paint has got to the point where it was so expensive that and even Harley, Harley now, like they've raised their prices on their paints and stuff, and PPG is the main manufacturer, and there's a lot, like if you go back to 2011, if you have a PPG mixing bank, you can mix every color other than like 2.
Yes.
Now
for the Harley Davidson colors.
For the Harley Davidson colors to do repair work.
Right.
So the repair industry for Harley parts used to be massive.
Yes.
Like, I remember when I worked at the old shop, the Other Side Customs place, we were doing dealership. We did every dealership in Dallas-Fort Worth, and one dealership would be $120,000, another one would be 75, 50, 25. That shit adds up. Next thing you know, you got $1 million business.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
But then Harley makes it to where you have to special order, 8 of the 10 colors. So now you can only mix 2, but you have to order 8.
Yes.
And you're ordering a pint for $250.
Yes.
And, so this set of bag lids comes in. They want it paint matched, some speaker lids. They want it paint matched to the factory color. And you got to charge this dude $800 to do some lids, which may or may not be the normal rate where certain areas of the country.
We see that now. We paint for the dealerships here in town, and we see that every day. Yeah,
and so, right. And I've had dealerships start to reach out to me the last year. I'm like, dude, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
I just can't make money.
Why? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I could go buy the paint you can buy paint from Harley cheaper than anywhere else,
Sure.
but it's got a real weird window of like custom paintability.
Yeah.
Like if you go buy like Big Blue Pearl from Harley, you can get a quart for $150. But I would paint, clear it, lock it in, then go.
Right.
And the only time I do that is if I do a flaked out base coat. So if I do silver, 50-50 flake,
Yep.
I'll hammer that shit on, and then I'll clear it, let it sit a couple days, block it down, ready for artwork.
Exactly.
Just so it's smooth. But
Yep.
if I'm doing a base coat, like, no, dude, I want to tape over that shit and go. I don't want to waste a whole
Right.
round of clear that's not burying anything.
Exactly.
So-
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that's, I don't know, man. It's back to the whole thing. I think these bigger companies, I'm glad they didn't step up because it gave me that wave to ride in.
And it gave you a reason to maybe branch out into other areas, like you said, the
Oh,
inner
dude,
coats and
totally.
the clear.
Yeah, because these painters were just getting, and they're still getting no love. And that's where they came on, they recognized us, said, who the hell is Paint Huffer? And what are these guys doing? How did he get all these guys? What, are you a lawyer? I'm like, no, I'm not a fucking lawyer. I'm just a guy who gave some love because y'all weren't. You guys weren't giving shit. So I came in, I gave a shit, and then here we are. It's an easy formula. But I think it kind of definitely woke them up. And it woke them up to the fact where they started, like I was saying before, like even on their Instagram, all of a sudden we were seeing Paint Huffer, Paint Huffer, Paint Huffer. They started tagging me. And if you look on House of Colors Instagram now, maybe 1 out of the 5 paint jobs on there will say Paint Huffer. And I'm like, okay. Now, is it because MetalFlake is such a small percentile in the industry?
I think that because right now, MetalFlake is probably the biggest. It's the biggest part of the cut. Like our custom paint culture right now is panels.
Right.
Whether anybody wants to say they're tired of it or not, every fucking buddy that calls me wants a panel job.
Sure. Oh yeah.
So that
Absolutely.
means flake, this, that.
Flake. Yep. Exactly.
And so that's what it is. So that's what's popular right now.
And we have guitar companies left and freaking right. Like this is this new wave of like doing all these custom guitars that are flaked out. So I mean, and then we sell to the Turks. We have people that are over in Turkey that are clothing industries that use our flake. Specialized bicycles. I mean, specialized Trek. We have all these bicycle companies that are using our flake. So there's other commodity lines that go into it, and it's awesome that way.
The one weird thing I did notice is from being at SEMA, there, PBG has a close friend of mine, Jeremy Sino from Lucky Strike Designs. He actually works for PBG. He's one of the baddest painters in the industry, in my opinion.
Nice.
He also does work with a Hot Dog. Hot Dog's real on board with them. But House of Color had. And I'm not saying anything bad about these guys. I'm just showing it.
Just calling it as it is. Yeah.
They had Counts Customs. They were 100% pumping Counts Customs the entire time at the House Color booth, and 100% pumping the entire cast of the Iron Resurrection, which is the Martin Brothers thing.
Love Joe. I love
Joe's the shit.
A great dude. Joe, when in my first 5 posts that I ever had, even with Paint Huffer, boom, love. And I was like, what the fuck? Hey, what's up, dude? I know who you are. And I met him years ago at Laughlin, years and years ago. His brother and him were playing the band. I'm in a band. So I had met him, and he didn't know who the hell I was. He was just admiring the work on there. But anyways, he's been with us since day one, is what I'm getting at.
And so, like I said, I'm not saying anything bad about them. I'm just using them as an example, right? The paint companies like House of Color, because these are the people they invested the most money in for the shows.
Yes.
These people, like, how do I put this? Like, they have a following. I'm not gonna lie. So Joe Martin has a super following on there.
Sure.
I wouldn't say that it's all paint related and people that you're marketing to.
No.
So it's like if they would look at these painters the ton of us that were there doing work. Like some of us have more marketable, followings. Like,
Absolutely.
Like to me, like
they're out of touch.
It's like this. Like I made a post, a real emo kind of post a couple weeks back about like talking about how I was getting annoyed with all these companies that were starting to adopt the of just putting a whole bunch of hot chicks in their pictures.
Oh yeah.
Instead of like it being content about what it is.
Right.
Now I get it. Sometimes
Right.
it's fitting and it works, but
Sure.
I've noticed that some people have just completely went that way.
Yeah.
Now, what you're doing when you do that is you're getting your followers up, but you're getting your followers up on dudes that just want to see tits.
They have nothing. They have zero interest in paint work. All
or
they want to see,
whatever it is you sell.
Exactly. They want to see some ass on
it's
there.
a fake. It's a fake growth of.
It's a fake audience.
Of like an unmarketable group of people.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Now, even like on Paint Huffer, I mean, we have a lot of people that are just fans and they like to see. Like, you know what's weird?
I tell people like custom paint. Like when I get people that come to me that are lost, one thing I usually try to do is I say, hey, go to painthuffer.com or Paint Huffer MetalFlake on IG and just check out all the painters. You know what happens when they come back without one of my paint jobs? I give them the information of the guy they found.
Right.
And I do that all the time, and they're like, man, but I'd like for you to do it. I'm like, no, you want this guy to do it.
You want that guy to do it. Exactly.
You know?
Right.
And that's what's good about it is that you've created a unintentional network
Yes.
of
Yes.
diverting people's attention towards what they like.
Right.
You know,
it's crazy, man. I mean, I myself, if I have an idea or if I'm looking at something, I mean, shit.
I've gone to the page myself just to see a variety of paint jobs when I'm looking for some inspiration for the next sketch that I'm doing on a bike. And I've done that so many times and found people that I started following because like, damn, this dude's fucking raw.
Oh yeah,
You know?
absolutely. Yeah, no, it's amazing, man, and I appreciate you saying that. I got a call from Paul Senior from OCC, and to be honest, man, I'm not really a big fan of TV shows or those style of bikes. I mean, he's a sweet guy, and I'm going off of our conversations, himself to myself. We had a really nice heart-to-heart conversations. I don't care if you're a fan of OCC or not. I can give a shit less. But the fact that he called me, and he was like, hey, man, he goes, your work is phenomenal. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Let me stop you right there.
Yeah.
This is not my work. I'm a MetalFlake manufacturer. This is what I am. This is a collection of artists that are in a group that we call Team Paint Huffer. And he goes, oh, I want you to paint for me still. He goes, will you do a paint job for a Discovery show? And I said, let me find you. And that's a whole nother thing. I mean, let me find you a painter. And that's when I reached out to you and was like, hey, here we go. But it's cool. I mean, we get a lot of that. I would have never had this opportunity. I mean, I would talk to people that I see, in the movies. And I'm like, man, I just talked to that guy the other day. You know what I mean? And I'm not like, hey, sign my tits, that type of guy. I could give a shit less. If you're a celebrity, that's awesome. You've done some amazing stuff in your life, and I appreciate that. But the fact that we're getting calls and we're getting on your radar or somebody else's radar, it makes me feel good. And that's cool. And I'm like, hey, you know what, man? That's rad, dude. I'm a fan of your last album, and that's cool that you're hitting me up and you're wanting something painted. Check this guy out here in Texas. And it works. It's cool. And that's when I copy you and stuff, or I'll tag you and stuff. Even in the DMs, I'll get hit up by somebody and they'll say, you know anybody in the Dallas-Fort Worth area? You know this person or whatever? And I'm like,
reached out to me from Houston about doing a roof on her car.
Yeah. That was somebody who just, I think that was last week or whatever, they hit me up. And I'm like that, man. I'm just, you have to give a shit. So, and I'm not saying that, hey, look, House of Color, I think they just got so big that they get out of touch. They get out of touch with it.
That's a good one.
They get so out of touch with it. They're like, okay, well, we're the big giant, and we're out of touch with it. And then you have somebody little that comes up and says, oh yeah.
Well, you know what? Another thing that happened is that so this dude Reed, I don't know how to say his last name, but he's one of the guys that runs some of the stuff on House of Color. He started his Facebook not like kind of, I guess, a chat room, like a group page for Facebook, and it's just for all the painters, and they kind of talk. I don't really do chat rooms, period. You know what I mean? But he made a big post in there talking about quit asking me for free shit.
Oh, okay.
Quit, and I get that. Like I get that a lot of people probably reach up to a dude does a good paint job, and his wife or his best friend says it's sick. It'll put you on cloud nine. Next thing you know, you're really legit wondering why you're not getting sponsored by certain things.
And you've only had one paint job, and it's been in like this dark photo that we'll
you
get.
Hadn't put in the time or whatever the case may be. Right. And so I get that for them,
in their eyes.
It's probably like so overdone that they just check out when they hear it. When they feel the setup coming, they check out. Right. I get that.
Right.
But I think that the way to get around that is to counter it with, like, you know, something already in place that is something to work towards, a challenge. Like, hey, get yourself up to this point. If we, you know, win, like they do that calendar thing every year, like, win this, then you get on here,
exactly.
You know,
it's the same thing. I get hit up every day. People are like, yeah, how do I get sponsored, how do I get on the team there? And I'll look at their portfolio, and maybe they have 4 or 5 pictures, and half of them are in their backyard in some garage. It's dark and unlit, and their pictures, you know what, if you have a great quality picture, I mean, you take a nice decent picture of it, and if it looks good, we're going to throw it up and we're going to promote it because you're promoting us. I mean, that's what, and I want to help those guys get to that point. This isn't, you know, but I want to give you something to work towards too as well. You know what I mean? You're not just going to be on Team Paint Huffer because you know somebody, or you're going to come in and just be like, you know, hey man, I've been painting for 2 days now. Can you throw me on the team, or can you sponsor me? We get that every fucking day. And I get that I probably have right now probably 4 or 5 people that are like, hey man, can you send me a pound of flake? I'm going to put it on my go-kart and I'm going to sponsor you at the racetrack. And I'm like, hey, fuck off. You know what I mean? Like, seriously, dude, I'm not doing that, because now I got to pay for shipping, and I got to pay all this extra stuff on there. I have to look at it now.
Shipping's legit. Like, it's a big part of it.
You know, but I want to take care of. When I reach in my pocket and I hand out somebody, if I'm spending, you know, $50-$40, I know that it's going to be on somebody that's going to make us look good. It's a gentleman's handshake. You know what I mean? Whether I send it out to, you know, whoever artist on there, and I want them to have that way. But I'm not a snob in the fact that I'm not like, hey man, you know, you can't hook us, you can't contact me or whatever. No, fuck that, dude. You want to hit me up? 3:30 in the morning, man. I'll be talking to you, and I'll tell you exactly what I think of your work. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, hey, man, sorry. But you know, when I say I do like it, that it's 100%. And I think that's respect. A lot of people are like, oh, man, you know, I'm just going to, you know, give this guy like an attaboy or whatever and just flow their head. No, I'm going to say, no, I'm sorry. It looks like dog shit. I do that to my own friends right now. Like guys that even work here at Paint Huffer, they'll show me a job, but I'm like, I don't like it, man. And they know me. They're like, what do you mean you don't like it, man? I'm like, I am sorry, man. You're using brown with neon green. Like, pick a fucking color wheel, dude. You know, complementary colors, tertiary colors, secondary colors. Look at the color. Look, study a color wheel. Study it. You know, I have to know color. This is my business.
I always tell people, too, if they just don't understand that, like, to go look at graffiti.
That's it.
Or go look at nature, like coral reef photos.
That's very well said.
Things in nature that are very colorful will sometimes give you a very good way of seeing colors that go together. And, you know, sometimes you'll find colors, like you said, not so much the neon green and the brown, but you'll find that brown might go with a certain shade of blue.
Absolutely.
And it works. But... you know, like, that becomes that's that investment that people don't make. Like, so for instance, you were saying something, I was going to tell you, like, my brother, you know, Jesse just painted his bike, and he used the gray flake. What is it? This hyperspace. So he hyperspaced it. It looks dope. But, you know, we got to keep his head low, so let's just make him think that he's not good enough for it or whatever.
Right.
But no, the other thing, like, you know, I'm leaving to come out here, and he's like, man, you know, while you're gone, I'm gonna paint my bike. You know, I want to do it, and I'm happy he's doing his own shit. But he's like, man, what should I do? I'm like, all right, so this is the point. This is the part of the paint job that nobody fucking thinks about. It's the part that doesn't even involve paint. It's the reason why I have $300 markers. It's the reason why I'll run out of that $300 markers.
And I think that's
monthly.
cool that you show that, because I'll look on your feed and I'm sitting there, I'm like, yeah, he's drawing another helmet. He's doing a little concept sketch right there. He's doing, you know, whatever he's brainstorming.
It's you know, it's
that's
everything.
Fucking cool as shit, man. You're showing that hard work. You know what I mean? It's not just like, oh yeah, it just came out of thin air and here it is.
The hardest part, like, is when you know, I never really looked at that part as the work still, but then I was like, this summer's been just a fucking nightmare for me. It really has, and it got to a point where I was like, getting off work, coming home because I have all these helmet orders, and I'm drawing helmets, and I'm like, dude, like, I just want to, like, watch a movie right now.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, dude, I get that.
Or I want to go downstairs in the swimming pool.
Yeah, you want to take 5 minutes and just take a break
but then
quick.
Feel guilty, man.
That's
you feel guilty. Like,
that's interesting that you say that, man. I've had it said to me yesterday. I had a guy here, DJ Gillespie. He works on my team, and he was like, hey, man, I got to talk to you a second. He goes, do you ever take a break? And I said, all I think about is paint. And like if I go, like I'm going surfing here in a couple days, you know, my wife, we just went on our first vacation in 13 years. There was an event for Tony Hawk that he was doing for ProTech helmets, and they use our flake, right? Now, I don't know Tony or whatever. He was just doing this event. So we went out there, and I was able to, you know, hang out with Dane Danner is a guy who does my graphic. We're doing his Nomad out there in our shop right now. And, you know, it was the first vacation. So we were like, hey, you know what? Over Labor Day, let's go again. You know what I mean? We got our big Labor Day sale coming up. And, you know, we always hook people up and do a big sale for that. And so I'm like, you know, I can take a couple days and go out there and just unwind and take a break. And I think sometimes you have to do that, because I did that. I'm sitting out there in the middle of the ocean the other day, and I'm like, fuck, dude, I guess some people are right. Like, you need to stop and maybe go see that movie, grab yourself a beer, or just take a breather. And I think it's healthy, because
I think that's what I started doing a lot, is drinking a beer because I could check out from that.
Oh, totally. You know, I watched a documentary on Hugh Hefner. And he lived in his room with all the Playboy magazines spread out across of it, right? And I'm sitting there the other night, and I'm like, fuck, man, in a sense, I'm kind of like doing that. Like, I'm living on this. I'm eat, sleep, and, you know, huff paint like every fucking day. Like, this is all I'm thinking about and doing that. And Huffy would even do that. He'd take a break and go sailing or whatever he would do in his life. But there's a guy, I think guys like that who start something from nothing. And what I get at that too, and the reason why, you know, anybody can say the reason why they love riding a bike or whatever, but I love the fact that Harley and Davidson, two guys, started it up, created this huge fucking company, you know, and they were nothing. I never look at this, if I look at somebody like Monster Energy, you know, this guy was out of Vegas, right? And his background, from what the little bit that I know, was somebody who was just a corporate guy, but had a dream, and he did it. He didn't listen to like, oh man, that'd be impossible, or that's a hard thing to do. No, man, fuck it, just go do it. You know what I mean? I think Nike had it the best, man. Just fucking do it, you know? And I think that's the way it is. Just stop talking about it. Just go fucking do it. Just try it. If you fail, whatever, do it again.
The crazy thing is, like, I found it, you know, we were just talking about like checking out, you know, giving yourself time.
You got to.
That became my riding bikes cross country.
Yes.
Which then became another sub part of the business.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what sometimes a lot of us do, is that anything we're passionate about, like, can technically be another source of income. Fuck
yeah, dude, because mind you, I'm sitting out there on that surfboard, and I'm looking down, and I'm like, oh, okay, they use this type of, you know, marker on there. Like, they'll use like an actual like Sharpie marker on some of this here. But I'm sitting there fucking thinking about gel coat. I'm thinking about all this, and I'm like still thinking about paint. But then I'm like, we should hit up these surfboard companies. And now we are. You know what I mean? So you're right.
Yeah.
It segues into something else that you're like, it's always ticking. I think there's people.
Just the way they're wired, man.
It's just the way we are, dude. Like, I don't want to stop. I mean, I'm having too much fun with it.
Yeah.
Now, is it going to affect my relationship? No. I mean, you know, my wife still loves me, thank God, and everything's cool, and I'm not hurting anybody. I lay my head down at night and think, you know, I didn't dick anybody over. I gave everybody a fair handshake and gave them love. I'm like, fuck, dude, we get to do this again tomorrow. This is rad.
What you just said is exactly right. So, you know, I've been behind. I've been playing catch up for 4 months now at work. And it just, sometimes, like, when customers are cool, I'm fucking, dude, I just want to make them happy. I'm a people pleaser. But when I get opposition, you know, like, if anybody had like a deadline that was like, you know, I need my bike this week, it's the only reason I was building the bike, then it's done. Like that, I would prioritize that. But you know, it's like every day, even weekends, I'm there, I'm working every day. So I've gotten to the point where when customers would get loud with me or get a little, you know, want me to explain myself, I'd be like, hey, dude, I can send it back to you.
Absolutely.
You know,
I'll send it back to you.
I'm like, here's the deal. It's like, I know where you're going with this. I've been doing this long enough, and right now, all I care about is making sure that the time you've waited is worth the time that you waited. Now, if you keep going down this path you're going right now, then our relationship in this business thing is going to become toxic.
Exactly.
And then I'm not going to enjoy what I'm doing, and I'm not going to be able to give you what you're waiting and paying for.
Right.
So let's just stop here.
Yep.
Let's
walk away.
Just, you know, I post everything I post on Instagram because I want people to know I'm at work.
Exactly.
You know, and I want, you know, me and my daughter driving across the country. I'm posting that.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Because I want people to see, like, look, man, like, memory. I'm still here fucking working.
Yes.
But I'm trying to spend time with my daughter because I promised I'd take her to Cali.
Yeah.
You know?
Amazing. Yeah, that's heaven right there.
And
man,
she's
because-
bored out of her mind
Yeah.
while we're talking paint and shit. But the thing is, it's like, it is that. It's you know, it's not me, you know, fucking off at the pool or going out taking a cruise while your bike's still sitting on the shelf or this, that, and the other. It's just...
You know what? And I admire you for that, because I think Rain will know just how hard her dad, you know, worked and loves her, and that's cool. And when you see people that are like that, like when I would see my old man work, I'm like, damn, man, like, you gave a shit. You coached my baseball team or whatever. Like, you coached the football. I didn't play
Say,
football.
now you're making me like a shitty parent because I don't do any of that shit.
Nah, yeah, you do. But you know what I mean. I think those are memories that are great memories,
Yeah.
man. I mean, you know, if we get down to it, I mean, I think she knows, like, an hour and a half of being bored is going to be worth it when she becomes a young woman and gets into her own career. She could be like, wow, this is where I get it from. This is where I get that hard work from. That instills into it. I think that's a beautiful thing. You know, that's cool. She's over here nodding her head. You know, yeah, she knows. She knows, and that's cool. You know, you can't teach hard work. That's
you
something
can't.
that's just, I think, absorbed into it. And I think,
You know, I was telling my brother the day, the one thing that happened to me, you know, my dad's side of the family, we're completely disconnected, not close at all. It's a stupid rich side of the family, like to where it's like maybe if I would have like been a big kiss ass growing up for that side, I might have, you know, a different life. But
yeah, you don't want that.
I don't. But so what happened was, I remember in high school I played basketball, and I played on select teams, just kind of like my daughter does too with soccer and shit. And when we would play on these select teams, we would have to buy certain shoes that everybody had to match.
Right.
And, you know, this is in the late 90s, and fuck, man, like, shoes were still $120, $130 in. So
Heck yeah.
my grandparents had a restaurant in a real famous part of town in Dallas called the Bishop Arts area.
Okay.
They pretty much owned this whole block.
Okay.
And so they had a restaurant there. It was there since the 50s, real famous place for lunch people in the corporate world.
Nice.
Lots of big names coming through there.
Sure.
And it was good, great food,
Oh,
really
yeah.
good food. So they asked me to paint I guess the trim or I don't know what the fucking word is around the whole building. It's an
Yeah, all
old
the
ass
molding
building.
and
Yeah, all the
everything,
moldings
yeah.
and stuff. I'm a fucking kid. Like, I'd never even been dirty. You know, I played basketball. I was an athlete kid. I didn't really understand the concept of stripping paint off wood, old
Sure.
wood, you know, 2 stories in the air.
And there wasn't a YouTube to figure it out in
There
2
was
seconds.
and my dad just dropped me off in the summer and said, hey, well, they'll give you stuff if you do it. And I did the whole thing, right? Not knowing what the fuck I was doing.
Yeah.
And they said it was horrible, and they're not paying me. My grandparents.
Really?
Yeah.
That is the worst fucking thing that you could ever
Or the best.
say.
I would never do that to my kids or anybody.
Fuck no.
But they did that, and, you know, it started something with them that I didn't. At that point, I never.
That built a wall.
Yeah, well, it did, 100%.
I mean, I'm not telling you how you thought.
Yeah.
I mean, God, it would build a wall for me.
So in their head, you know, they were very judgmental people, so they're always like, you know, you're not working hard enough, you're not this. And I do have those qualities that I say that to my brother and my wife and things like that, because in a sense some of it is true. Like, hey, you know, if things ain't going good, then work harder.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But so what it did is it created this like drive in me, this competition to prove them wrong and prove
Right.
that I can be better in some sense.
Yep.
Without any kind of help, because, you know, I like I said, it's not really a podcast about them, but that restaurant they had was given to them. It was already started, and they carried it on. Now everything that I've done, I've been given knowledge from people in the industry growing up, so I owe them that. But
Absolutely.
it wasn't like the Fast Life Garage was a 10-year successful company and then I inherited it. You know what I mean?
No, man.
So
you started it from
exactly.
your
So it's like
knuckles and getting down and dirty and just doing.
I needed that shit to happen, which I at the time I was like fucking sad and crying and
Right.
felt like shit, but I needed it to happen because it made me it made me want revenge. You know what I
Right.
mean? It
Right.
made me competitive. It made me want to keep being better.
It does. It does. I think that's very.
Sometimes you need
yeah.
some shitty people in your life, man.
You got to have that, man. Every family has that. I mean, for the most part, I don't know what family doesn't have that. I mean, I had an amazing family. Unfortunately, my mom did become homeless right before she passed away. She was homeless for about, I don't know, probably 12, 15 years, which, just was couch to couch to couch, guys that didn't give a shit about her or whatever, but she was on the streets, and I think that's it woke me up at a very young age, just being like, hey man, you know, this is a concrete fucking world, dude.
Yeah.
I don't have a fear of being homeless. I figure if I have to, okay, fine, I'll go do it. You know what I mean? But damn if I'm not trying. Like I said earlier, you know, sun's up, bills are due. I'm well aware of that fact, and I'm gonna do whatever I can do to, you know, to sustain and just make it. You know what I mean? Just be able to pay my fucking bills. That's it. That's all you know, I'm not out, you know, trying to become, you know, a huge tycoon or whatever. You know, I think I want to give it my best and give it at all. I'm not some guy that's just going to settle. You know what I mean? Like you said too, and this is what's cool about this podcast. And I see you move in this direction and doing these paint things too that you're doing that not a lot of other painters are doing. And I think that's something that I've had a lot of other talks with painters recently, and they're like, well, what's the next thing? Because we've seen all the fish scales and we've seen the tape outlines and we've seen the redundancy in this. And I'm like, well, that's an old school chopper way of doing things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's never going to go out of style.
Well, when you're talking about
that's rad.
styles of paint, like, you know, like, honestly, the next thing is the next customer.
That's it.
It's not.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, it's the next customer's job, and how you can be innovative on what they want.
Right.
You know, maybe if you have your own projects.
What got you into doing the portraits, man? That was a pretty bitchin' idea, because you got the portraits in the back there. Because it seems like that's your own like little.
You know what? Honestly,
niche.
I'll be real straight up with you. What I used to do fine art a lot. Like, I used to paint at like car shows, like lowrider shows.
Okay.
So when I first started airbrushing, there was a company called Torres Empire, and they put on like the lowrider super show in Vegas.
Absolutely.
I mean, not Vegas, in LA.
LA, yeah.
And they even have one here, I think. So I got to work with him, and I was doing murals and shit all the time. Like, Rain used to go with me and sit at the shops after school every day while we were doing this. And so I had like, at this point, you know, I talked about this in my podcast about me, but when she came to live with me, I didn't get to go ride bikes anymore. So what I was doing was I was doing canvases in the garage, you know, when I wasn't at a shop at night.
Yeah, I remember hearing. Yep.
So I started doing these canvases, and when I started doing it with like celebrities' faces, it created like a connection with the people looking at it.
Yeah.
You know, and I learned that from this dude Daniel Power. He's an Australian airbrush guy.
Yeah.
And he's a fucking amazing dude. And we back in the day we used to talk a lot on Facebook.
Oh, cool.
Awesome guy.
Right on.
And so I just kind of like looked at that and I was like, man, like, this dude did this badass picture. He's doing, like, he used to do a lot of movie like poster pictures for shit out there or whatever. So I started doing that stuff with canvases, and, you know, I did like one of Ice Cube, and then, you know, he was at a concert there, so he signed it and stuff like that. And I did one of Lil Wayne and Rihanna. Like, I mean, I'm at fucking rap concerts. I'm not gonna put like Kurt Cobain on them or anything like that.
Right. Yeah.
But,
Exactly.
you know, a little gender specific. I mean, fucking whatever. But so when I started doing the helmets, man, like I've said it all the time. I never liked painting helmets, you know, because I couldn't get the money that the time involved, you know.
Right.
And there was another airbrush guy.
And people think because of the cost of a helmet that you're supposed to come under with the paint work. I get that a lot, where people are like, hey man, I only spent, you know, $300 on this whatever company helmet. I only got $100 to spend on this job. And I'm like, hey man, sorry.
Yeah,
you fucking kidding me? Like, my materials cost over $400, like, you know, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, give me a break, dude.
There was another airbrush guy who I'm a huge fan of as well. His name's Jason. His shop is Garage 31 up in Oregon. He's more of a sign painter. Actually, he's a fucking all around painter, but he's more of an airbrush and signs.
I think I know who you're
Jason
talking about.
Poetry or something like that. I can't pronounce his last name, but he did a series of wood panels, right?
Oh, okay.
Where he was airbrushing wood, and he would do same thing. He was doing celebrities, and so he did this line of like 90s movies that was very iconic.
That's cool.
And so he did one of like Chevy Chase fucking flipping out the finger off in the window on Vacation.
Yep.
He did one of Ice Cube sitting in a car from one of his shows. He did like a Lebowski, Steve Buscemi. He did a lot of Bill Murray stuff.
Oh yeah.
But he did this picture of Samuel Jackson.
Nice.
So he did the picture, and this was years before I did my helmet. Right? Years before that. But I saw the picture, and I was like, at this point, like, I had a little bit of money to spend. I was like, man, like, I've never bought art from another person before.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know if I did reach out to him, or I think I kept wanting to, and then I saw he sold it, the art piece of
Okay.
Samuel Jackson.
Yep.
Because I love that Pulp Fiction movie.
Yeah.
I really do.
Absolutely.
I'm not like a nerd about it to where it's
Right.
like I'm going to tattoo it or I'm in a club, but I do
it's still,
like
yeah,
the movie.
there's a huge,
And so
that and like Reservoir Dogs was
yeah,
always
my
thing.
daughter loves Kill Bill. Like she's
Oh
a
yeah,
big
Kill Bill, of course. Yeah,
So
definitely.
I saw that, and then it was kind of in the back of my head. I always thought it was just fucking cool.
Right.
He just when he airbrushed just a picture of Samuel Jackson in that scene.
Yep.
It isolated so much other nonsense, but you still had that energy and that emotion in his face.
Right.
And you know what
Right.
scene it's
You know
from.
exactly what it comes from. Yep.
And so, like, when we came to do the helmets, man, like one of my close friends is the one that kind of pushed me into doing the Simpson helmets and the panels and shit.
Right.
I was trying to avoid that scene.
Right.
And I'll get into this other part too, but I was trying to think, like, dude, I've always said, like, if I'm going to show people what I can do paint-wise, I need to do everything I know how to do. But I need to figure out how to put everything I know how to do together cleanly.
And that's a hard thing because I see a lot of people like you did Julius, you know what I mean? But you see a lot of these guys that I've had stuff that has been either sent to me or whatnot where it's like, man, they put their whole fucking portfolio into this thing and it looks like a garbage can. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, it's nice. I'm glad that you know how to do this and this and this and this, but it looks like a goddamn Rubik's Cube.
Exactly.
And I'm like, dude, what are you doing?
And the other thing I don't like is I don't like theme stuff.
No.
And so this was a way of putting something on there that grabs people's attention because of they know who it is. Like,
Right.
oh shit, that's fucking
Stevie
so-and-so.
Ray Vaughan.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Did you do a Stevie Ray Vaughan?
No, I haven't done one of
Well,
those.
great.
yet.
Guess what?
Okay.
No, I definitely want. Yeah, and I'm the guy. Like, if you look around, like everybody that's on our team, like I have people that'll comment. They're like, maybe they're having a slow month or whatever. I pay them, dude.
Yeah.
I buy more shit off of my own Paint Huffer guys. I want that because
Yeah.
when I'm 80 years old and in a retirement home or somebody's taking care of me, I want to look at all this work and be like, wow, that's cool, a cool collection for that. So no, I'm serious. I really do want to.
That's cool. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, well.
But so
and I'll
wanted
call you every day asking if it's done yet
Okay, yeah.
or if you've got it going. No, I'm just
I just wanted to, like I said, like the hardest part about being a great custom painter, and I'm not saying I am, but the things that I've noticed from other people that I admire is the composition of how they balance everything.
right.
and
It's huge.
And I feel like it's so easy. Like, hey man, I want a Vegas themed helmet. Oh, there's plenty of shit that you can throw on the helmet to make it Vegas.
Of course,
But you've seen one Vegas helmet, you've seen them all.
definitely, man.
So
Yeah.
why not take, just like my friend when he isolated Jules in that way, how do you isolate something and still make people know that's a fucking Pulp Fiction themed helmet?
In those eyes and that scene, it like that.
Yeah.
The picture's worth 1,000 words, and you're
So
right.
and sometimes some characters you can get that vibe, and some that we've done so far. But
yeah.
now the other thing that this is this was mine.
Yep.
Nobody else in the scene was doing this.
Right.
So it might still be panel paint jobs. It might still be leaf. It might be a lot of things, but nobody else is doing it this way.
Right.
Poland's one of my favorite painters, Austin.
I fucking love Austin.
And Austin's style is way different than mine. Even though I have a lot of his influence in my work, that's still his. You look at his helmets and you know exactly.
it is. Even with like Phil Leonard, Cerarium.
Yeah, dude, isn't he up in the Bay Area?
Boom. You look at that. Yeah, he's over there by Specialized. They're up in Morgan Hill area there, and Phil sent me a sponsor me video.
Oh, serious?
How crazy is this, right?
That's fucking gangster.
And this is, it was fucking crazy, dude. It was probably about, I don't know, man, 6 years ago now. And he sent me this DVD. I popped it in, and it's showing him talking about it. But he comes from a fine art background. I just talked to him the other night.
He does a lot of shows.
Yeah, and he's doing he was telling me the other night that, he's like, hey, I had no idea about this. I was asking for some of my artwork back, and Shepard Fairey had actually bought it. He was like, the people that I was asking for my artwork back, they was using it for a gallery, and they're like, we can't give it back to you. Shepard Fairey just bought it. I was like, wow, that's freaking awesome, man. You got this really cool, I mean, what a underground dude. I mean, who became somebody, I have a lot of respect for guys like Shepard. I mean, he started from nothing and just boom, worldwide. So it's awesome to hear that. But
the biggest thing that I think that a lot of painters need to think about is that, Corey St. Clair came in the game, and he brought a flavor that was different. But Corey St. Clair was also doing a lot before he ever got noticed.
Right.
And same thing for me. It's like,
and that's exactly what I was just going to say. That exactly with you, because when you and I talked, I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Where did you come from? How you're like this gem out there in Texas that I saw, and I'm like, are you kidding me, dude? Like I looked at your work and your portfolio, and it was just like, bam, this catalog full of stuff. And like I said again, I'm not an ass kisser, man. I would tell you straight up. I'd be like, oh, hey, you know, okay, this is what I would think, my own personal opinion, what I think you need to grow on, or maybe even, you know, give a shit about. But I was so glad.
I've always told everybody that's asked me this, is with any art, is that everybody's influenced by somebody else, even like the masters of,
for sure,
of back in the days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what happens is when you first start doing art, some of us are so, you know, blessed in whatever you want to believe in, is that you just have this swag that you just are born with it. You know what I mean? And those are the people I feel like are born with the talent that a lot of us, like myself, I learned my skills. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now the other thing is that it's all the artists that I found that I liked has shaped me.
Yes.
So that's been something that you know, like Rod Fuchs, I think is how you say his name. He was one of the most amazing skull painters and just airbrush guys ever.
Yeah.
And forever, I just wanted to fucking be him. I wanted to do his shit.
I remember seeing his stuff
everywhere.
Airbrush Action Magazine, boom, 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 boom.
And still to this day, I love the dude's artwork. But
absolutely.
I've grown past that style.
Right.
And you know, it wasn't an airbrush thing that, you know, back when I started doing airbrush, everybody had their own skull. Like, that was a trademark thing.
Yeah.
Joe Martin had a skull.
Yep.
Craig Frazier had a skull.
And you could tell right off.
Everybody had their own skulls, and that was cool. You know, but we don't, like, when Corey St. Clair and Nico Hurtado came around and made, I like to say, stock skulls.
Oh, yes.
Look great.
The realism,
It's just like, oh, well, we don't need to have a skull that's dramatized or fantasy. It just needs to be real. Or Ryan Townsend, another great airbrush artist, said it best. He was like, you don't want your artwork to be so real that it's Drew Blair that people kind of don't care about it because that's just a water.
And Drew
to
is,
this.
I mean, obviously
he's
Drew's
amazing.
Insane.
And I'm not saying anything about his work. I'm just saying, like,
you're right.
You want that balance between, like, they know it's painted,
right,
but this looks so good.
Where it's a piece of art. It's not. Yeah, exactly. No,
and it's just the time, man. Like, people have got to. I'm preaching right now because I didn't pay attention to my time that I put into this. I just did it because it was my job.
Now, do you want to get out of doing those helmets? I mean, because
I want to do the helmets, but I want to get out of. I don't want to rely on paint to pay my bills forever. I want to do this forever.
You and I have talked, and you've got some great ideas where I don't think that's going to be the case. And I think that's something that's a common denominator with a lot of painters out there. They're like,
there's no end game for painters, man.
They're like, Bri, what am I doing, man? I don't have a pension. I don't have a retirement thing. I don't want to be 70 out there, you know, huffing paint every day.
Yeah, dude.
And I get that, brother. I get that. They're like, you know, oh, that was a good segue of you starting a company on there. And I'm like, well, where the fuck do you think I'm going to be at 70?
Well, think about it like this. Like, think about all, you know, this is one thing that I get why they don't, but you kind of need to, you know, because otherwise you're selling, like, all these little, you know, these airbrush action, you know, classes where you're teaching everybody how to paint. You're teaching them that, like, and a lot of them have, like, a curriculum kind of background. Like, you know, this, you know, if you learn to pinstripe, you can expect to make this kind of money at dealerships pinstriping cars, or you can expect to make this kind of money airbrushing T-shirts at, you know, local amusement parks.
Right.
But they don't tell you is how to, and I don't know if it's been done. There's a reason why they don't, or they don't bring it up. They're like, hey, dude, this isn't an end game. This isn't like you go to college and then you get a degree and then you go get a job at Halliburton. This isn't that.
No way in hell.
You have to figure out how to make that. Or
they should have a class on, like, how to get rejected and how to get, you know.
Well, there's a real business aspect to this that separates a lot of people from others.
There is.
And you know, it's same thing that I say this about a lot of painters. Like, I know fucking amazing painters.
Yes.
That suck at everything but painting.
Right. That's what I'm getting at. It's the point where because, like, I'll get a lot of painters where I'll see them do. There was a guy out of Texas a few years ago that did an amazing fucking tank, and I was like, why'd you stop? You just did, like, James Brown, like, you hit it and quit it, man. You were in and out. Like, are you coming back? Are you going to do something? Because you were damn good, dude. I don't know, man. I just realized that it was hard, and it took a long time, and it was effort, and this didn't happen right, this didn't happen right. And I'm like, okay, sorry, man. Later. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's freaking poison, dude. I don't want to hear excuses. I don't want to hear a bunch of shit. Get in there and fucking do it, dude. Unless you're just not passionate about it. Yeah. You don't. If you lost your passion, there's no convincing.
There's something fun about, like, the excitement of pursuing getting better at doing something.
Oh man, are you
like
kidding?
if you're
That's
doing a
great.
skull, you're trying to get pinstripe down or get your silver leaf or just laying out graphics.
Anything.
Like I think what having my brother did this paint job this weekend, I think it's gonna distill something in him that he's gonna want to chase for a while.
Absolutely.
And if he has any, like if he gets a little bit more success out of it, then he's gonna be hooked.
Oh, dude.
It's just like when I try to tell people about riding bikes cross country. It's like
Yes.
you just got to have one good experience with it or two,
Go.
and then you're this is now part of like something you want to do for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and I've been stranded in the middle of nowhere, and that sucks. That really sucks. We all have. I mean, there's plenty of times we're there, but it's not going to quit me from jumping back out there and going again. I mean, you got to go. I mean, it's fun.
So when it comes to this industry, man, there's just a lot of I hear it. I have a lot of friends that are super negative. I can be super negative. You know what I mean?
Yeah, anybody.
And I think I said this in a recent podcast, but if you go to any place, right, any place of employment that has multiple employees in it, there's usually a conversation that's negative amongst the people who work there. Somebody's fucking up somewhere, and it's
somebody
talked
had
about.
a bad night, somebody had a bad week, and they want everybody else to feel their level.
Just whatever the case may be.
We've had situations where you and I, like, let's just say we've gone out and we've gotten drunk, and you have a friend come over, and they haven't even touched a beer yet or a pint of alcohol or whatever, and you're like, come on, dude, hurry up, drink up, man. I want you to get on my level. I want you to feel good like I'm feeling right now so that we can communicate. Yeah, let's be bros. But there's other people that are the same exact 180 of that are like, well, fuck this, man. I feel like shit. And all they want to do is hate,
they want to bring that.
and just bring that fucking negativity. And I'm like, my hand is on their forehead. I'm like, get the fuck out. I do that at my tattoo shop. If one of my guys comes in or a lady that works there now, she's having a bad night and everything. It's like, come here. You need a hug? What the fuck? Give me a hug. Give me a hug. Let's get on with this. We'll focus on what we need to do. Let's make some money.
Yeah.
Let's make our money, pay our bills, go home, and then you can worry about that shit. And that's easier said than done, right? I mean, we've all gone
a lot of
through
people,
that.
the thing is about it, like, there are people in this industry that really have had a shit hand at luck. And, and it sucks.
Oh, yeah.
But, it's still a hand.
Right.
And some people don't even get that. So the thing is, it's like, I hear these stories. I've had my fair share of setbacks, my, this, that, and the other, and I've heard theirs, and they suck. And so Instagram has become, in some aspects, for certain personalities, like that chat or that break room where
Yes.
people are just negative.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, fuck this industry will not show me any love. Dude, I was mad butthurt whenever my fucking gold bike couldn't get in a hot bike.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But
But I think, but there's a difference about someone like yourself. I have admiration for someone like you. When you went to whatever that street bike mag was, you knew that editor was in that town where you were. I'm trying to remember this story right. But you got out there and you hustled. You went knocking on the door. You're like, hey, check this out. Boom. You make your own day. You do, in a sense of it. I mean, you do. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, I know tomorrow where my day is going to lie out. Do I want it this way? Do I want it that way? Now, look, you're going to have surprises every fucking day. You just are. It's a roller coaster.
This whole year's been surprises for me.
Oh, yeah, high five, man. I'm with you there, too. But it's a fun part about it. And I'm not like, hey, Johnny Happy all the time either. I mean, I get down and I get mad. I get frustrated just like anybody else. But I'm like, damn, dude, I remember laying on a hospital bed and just thinking, I hope I'm going to be okay. I hope I can even walk tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that's when a lot of the times like that, I'll reflect back on that and be like, look, Brian, stop being an asshole today. Stop being a dick to this person or that person. Chill the fuck out. Realize that life isn't bad. Just fucking go out there and have some fun. And then, that's where I get on the Harley and we go for a ride. I think that's a healthy thing. Like we talked about sometimes taking an escape from that. I mean, you stare at a piece of art long enough, you're going to go blurry. You know what I mean? You work in a...
me and you talked about a mutual friend that we have from the Cali that had this. He has a bad attitude about a lot of things. As far as we'll get to. You'll find. I don't want to say his name on here.
No.
The
Yeah.
so he's had a shit hand. And I met him and I heard all his shit and he was just super negative. But
super negative.
Super fucking talented.
Yeah, he is.
And it's to the point where I'm like, dude, like, if you just got out of this area, you could probably be completely happy.
Fuck yeah, you could.
Because right now you're stuck in an area that you've had so many bad things happen with these local like you heard on my podcast, I don't do shit for anybody in my town.
Fuck no.
Because we all grew up together and we all had to, I'm not saying we had to do each other wrong, but there's been that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
This individual that you're talking about, and we all have it. We all have this type of friend, family member, associate at your work or wherever you have. I was sitting in my car in my driveway, and I was trying to convince him, like, hey, man, look, dude, you're an amazing painter. Everything's cool. Just chill out. No big deal. And I went inside. I looked at a YouTube video that he was doing an interview with. And this is probably about 4 years prior to our conversation in the driveway that night. And I walked in. I'm like, well, no shit. That's his attitude was even the same 4 years prior.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, I can't convince this guy, and I sure the fuck don't want to be a guidance counselor. I'd rather just, and I'm one of those guys where I'm like, I mean, that's why I don't put myself on my, Paint Huffer page, or I don't do a whole lot of that, because I'm just like, I'd just rather just be like, shut the fuck up and just go do it. Put up pictures, put up badass work. Let's go. I'm the guy that's like, get in the mosh pit. Let's just go in the mosh pit.
Figure out where the negativity is coming from in your life.
Yeah.
And get rid of it.
Just go. Try to do the best you can. 'Cause you can't get rid of all of it. You can't. I mean, I come from, like I said, my mom was homeless. She was on the streets. The only relationship she wanted me for was a paycheck, dude.
Yeah.
And it sucks. I mean, you grow up with that and, whatever. Boo-hoo. Okay, well, fucking move on, dude.
Yeah.
I had a great life. I'm not complaining, man. But I get it. Some people get stuck in that rut. Some people are that way. This individual who you and I are talking about, I think that this person is a grown-ass man and that they will never change, unfortunately. And I'm an extremely optimistic person, but I mean, come on, dude. You know what I mean?
It's almost like you got to figure out. There's like this point of innocence in a young painter.
Yeah.
And you got to figure out what's going to be their breaking point as far as like things not going in their favor or shit opportunities or. Another friend of mine, Jeremy from Lucky Strike, said it best. He goes, this emotional swing that we go through in this stuff where one opportunity on a job can throw us through the roof in the cloud nine of like, fuck, this is going to be the best thing in the world.
And you'll hear that in their voice.
And then as this project goes, you can see that swing going the other direction. And by the time it's done, it's like you've lost all the enthusiasm and this, and it happens. And it happens in projects. I'm just dealing with it now.
Yes.
But I'm not so mad at it that the other projects that are sitting on the shelves at the shop that I hate those now.
No.
I'm more like, you know what? These customers are cool.
Onward and upward.
They're like making me want to get to their shit now and get rid of this fuck
Press
up.
that fast forward button.
Yeah.
Get on with it, dude. Because think about it this way. You weren't, like 3 weeks ago when you got mad about something or you stressed on something, you're not thinking about it today. I hope you're not. I mean, you hope you've moved the fuck on.
Well,
I'm
making moves right now to get rid of the things that caused the issues that were.
It's an easy formula, but it's so funny that we all get hung up into that. I mean, look, dude, people need drama. There's no doubt about it. They need drama. That's why, drama, when you have a TV show, you have to have drama. It can't be, hey, here's an awesome tattoo. Hey, here's an awesome paint job. Here's this, here's that. Everything is not, sky's blue. I get that. But I'll be damned if somebody's going to come into my little... and I say mosh pit because I love going to, when I go to a concert, I'm 45, I'm still in that mosh pit, dude. I think that's the type of person I am. I'm like, let's get in the mix. Let's go do this. I'm wired that way. I don't know, dude. I've always been, I never got into drugs. I like drinking beer, but I'll be damned if I want to sit still. I can't sit still. I'm just that type of person. I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go start a company. Let's do this. Hell yeah. I don't care if there's, 3 other fucking people that are doing it or that have done it before or whatever, but they're not gonna. Fuck it, I'm gonna do it. Who's gonna say? You know what? If I want to go start a soft drink company tomorrow, fuck yeah, I'm gonna go do it.
What's the thing? It's the thing about my friend Ryan Townsend is the one that told me at SEMA last year that he was thinking about doing a podcast.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, dude, do it. That'd be cool.
Oh, hell yeah.
And then, I had a lot of my other friends like, hey man, you should do a podcast. But I was like, man, like fuck, man. My buddy Ryan said he was gonna do one, and I knew
do it.
I knew that our podcast wasn't gonna be strictly paint. But I knew that we would have paint-related things and topics and stuff because that's what I do.
And you know what? Even if I didn't know you, like I would still, and I listen to that all the time. And I've got, like I said earlier too, before we even started this too, like we've got, you're always gonna have that negativity. I'm gonna switch gears here real quick, but we have people that'll say, look, they'll order a couple jars of flake, and then 5 minutes later they'll be like, hey man, where's my tracking number? I'm like, hey. Give me a fucking break. I just printed off my printer. Soji's out there pulling it right now. We're busting our ass for you. Give me a break. But they just want to fucking hate. They want to be in that sense of it.
Yeah.
But when you're doing a podcast and you're taking it to another level, you've gotten yourself to where people can look up to that and say, you know what? Maybe they've had a shitty fucking day and they can chill the fuck out and listen to a podcast and get some other influences, it's contagious. When you listen to somebody that's positive like that, it's rad, dude. Like, I want to look, it's like reading a good book or whatever. Like, you're like, fuck yeah, dude, I get to go in tonight, chill out for a minute. I think everybody should have that in their life where they just take half a fucking hour of a day and look forward to it. I don't care what it is. Just look forward to it. Just walk in there and be like, all right, this half hour, I'm going to pick up my guitar. I'm going to take some Jim Beam and I'm going to play my guitar. And I don't care if that phone rings. I don't care if anybody's knocking on my door. Y'all can fuck off. Here I go. It's my time. And I think that's healthy. You know what I mean? If you don't have anything to look forward to or anything.
Yeah.
But I genuinely, like, when I come in here at night, I'm like, hell yeah, I get to listen to a new podcast. Or I'll get that alert that comes in there and I'll say, hey, you got a new podcast. Boom. All right, cool. Kick ass. It's a present. It's cool. I get to listen to it. It's fun. You know what I mean? And that's straight up. I mean, that's a good thing to do. So
yeah, and I think that, you know,
I think you've created a great platform, my brother.
I hope that other painters start doing it too. You know what I mean?
I get hit up all the time. They're like, hey man, I heard you on Fast Life. I heard you on the podcast, and they don't know our history.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's rad, man. You know, that's awesome. You know.
Well, you know,
cool.
I think our podcast has been successful in a sense that it's continuing to grow, right?
Yeah.
And
but I remember you talking to me the first night. You were like, hey man, did my voice sound okay, or did I sound like I was
that's the
tripping on my
competition
words?
thing I was telling you about. I was like,
no.
I look at this like, okay, when I listened to the first couple ones, yes, they were primitive. We were learning, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then when I realized that I wasn't taking certain ones too serious enough, like one of our most listened to ones is my buddy Joe Kidd. It was the one that was like the first one that was 4.5 hours long. That was our high. That was the drunkest person in the world in that podcast.
And Jesse was giving you shit about it, and
Jesse wasn't even on it.
Oh, he
I
wasn't?
was drunk. That was another one. I did the one with Dixon Flannel. Super drunk.
I remember.
So
yeah. I mean, not that you were drunk. I remember you saying that you were. Yeah, I remember listening to it later.
So this is the difference, though. Like if you're coming to listen to our podcast, you're going, man, I want to hear about these Dixon Flannel guys.
Sure.
So you're there, and I was explaining this to Jesse. We were having this conversation the other day. I was like, there's certain podcasts where we can fuck off.
Yeah.
Like if it's, you know, not saying that my buddy Marcus that we did it a couple of days ago where it wasn't somebody that needed to hear from,
right.
But that conversation started sober and ended drunk, and it was good, and everybody liked it.
It was great.
But when we go to Dixon Flannel and you want to hear about how Danny starts his shit, but we're shit-faced when we start,
right,
and we're shit-faced when we end, right. Like people are like, well, man, I didn't find anything about these guys, you know. And so to me, it's like it was about like, okay, you know what, this has.
But does it have to be?
It doesn't have to be, but here's the deal, like,
you know what I mean?
When Joe Rogan has a podcast with certain people on it, sure. I get, okay, I know I'm going to laugh on this one.
Oh, yeah.
And then, like last night, I listened to Bert Kreischer's.
Yep.
I knew I was going to laugh on that one.
Yep.
And then I listened to Neil deGrasse Tyson, and I knew I was going to, like, learn some shit. So I went into there with two different mindsets of what I was expecting from this podcast, and that's what I plan to do. Like, Joe Rogan made the perfect model for anybody that wants to do a podcast. The perfect model of how, like, to separate it and to, you know, the other hard thing that a lot of people don't think about with podcasts is if it was just a paint podcast, our industry is not big enough to fill the airways with a conversation long enough that's interesting.
Right.
Now, because
well, to an extent, I think I could talk paint all the fucking
we can, but
can,
is the conversation going to be the same with the same people over and over?
Is the audience going to? Okay, I get it. The redundancies are going to kick in.
Yeah, exactly. So now you take me,
right?
And technically, this is the Fast Life podcast, which is our brand,
Hell
right?
Yeah.
So we're interested in motorcycle travel.
Yes.
Just like Joe Rogan's interested in comedy.
Definitely.
We're interested in motorcycles in general.
Yes, without a doubt.
Customizing them, whatever the case may be, just like he's into hunting.
Yep.
We're interested in custom paint and all the things related to that. So there's a variety of things that all come together, and that's what I think kind of gives our podcast a little bit of a variety.
Yes.
Over if it was
just stagnant and talking. Like,
and the motor company, like the last couple of podcasts we've had, have been based on like the decisions that Harley's making right now.
Oh yeah.
So sometimes we have content to talk about. If House of Color did some outlandish shit or did some great shit, we would have content to talk about.
Yeah, believe you me.
So it's about those things, and it's about as time goes on.
Right.
You know, and who's to say like there's other things I'm interested in, but I know my audience, and I know that I can't do a podcast on Fallout 4 video games right now.
Right,
I don't have that audience,
Right,
but
yeah, exactly.
I love video games, dude. I legit do, but I'm not well versed in that enough to carry a conversation that's gonna give anybody any. Like, you talk paint to me,
Yes.
I got perspectives that people are gonna respect.
I became an engineer because of video games, and there was a guy named Eugene Jarvis who created Defender when I was a kid, and I was hooked. Like the arcades, that's where I would spend a lot of time with my dad. He picked me up and said, "Hey, let's go, we're going," and I'm like, "Oh, fuck yeah!" So, like, if you even look around here in our shop too, like I work on old school. Like when we have times and stuff, we'll take old school arcade games and work on them and stuff like that. But I think you have to have whatever it is a passion for. And I agree. Like Joe, when he has like Ted Nugent on, they're not even talking about guitars or anything else but hunting. You know what I mean? Which is obvious. I mean, the guy's a big hunter in there. But you don't hear a lot about the stand-up comedy coming into play or whatnot.
Yeah,
as
it's
well.
about.
So it's about just letting loose and
I
having
didn't.
fun.
I never listen to that podcast and expect to
But
be.
Ted's bio.
Or I mean, not even his bio. Just I didn't expect for it to be some comedy thing. I expected it to be what it was. So, we've been trying, like, and as our podcast has grown, we now have a segment called the Road Tripping, which is going to be a basic, complete start to finish of some dude's thought process, execution, and final thoughts on a trip he took and planned.
I think that's a great idea.
People like it. And then we have the like, I have my close friends, my FXR Mike, my Mark, and then my other buddy Marcus. We can talk serious, but we can also joke around, get drunk, have a good time.
Exactly.
And it's, you can expect that.
Yeah,
but if I come here and we get shit faced and we're just spitting on the fucking mics,
right,
dude, like that, I don't think that people want to hear that as much.
No, they don't want to hear.
They do is drink, get loose, have a good time.
You and I could drink till the sun comes
exactly,
up,
but
they don't want to listen to two drunk assholes talk about.
But that's the competition part. So in my mind, I'm competing with Joe Rogan. I want. Not that I mean, obviously, I want anything I do. I want it to be able to sustain itself.
Oh, dude. Well, I will put that out there that you are definitely the Joe Rogan of our industry.
I wouldn't go that far.
I do, and I'm not. Like I said, man. I think that's very an obvious factor of it because you are in the mix. Joe knows everybody in Hollywood. Joe's in Hollywood. That's what he does. When you see David Lee Roth go on his podcast, or you see whoever, like he had.
Mel Gibson on a couple months ago.
Yeah, right. He has all these people that are, but he's in the Hollywood mix. Jamie Foxx did a great.
I did that one. Yeah.
I love that, man. You know what I mean? So that was a good podcast as well. But I love listening to stuff like that and finding out, just what they're doing or whatever.
Yeah,
but,
and there's certain people that same thing. Like I feel like I did one with Adam Sandoval recently, and I realized something when I went into this podcast that my energy was gone. I woke up at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
I rode a bike. It wasn't a far ride, but I rode a bike 2.5 hours up to see him.
Oh, yeah.
I get there, I'm beat.
Yeah, you're fucking tired.
I'm beat, and I'm like, fuck, man. Like my brain's not working right now. Like I don't know the questions to ask. This dude's got this massive fucking life that he's lived in the last 5 years.
Well, I think with you and I, it's funny because when we first met each other, when we first started talking, we've already done like 10 podcasts off the air, and that's due to scheduling or whatnot. We were going to do one and I left, and then I was like, fuck, all right. But we've had phone conversations where we could pull it in there. I think if you just click and your audience knows that and they want to find out about, who you are, there's an interest in there. It should stay loose. It shouldn't be.
Well, the other thing is, like, a lot of people reach out to me and say, hey, man, you got to have this guy on. You got to have this guy on. And I look into all of them. I really do. But the most, on top of how interesting they are or what they've done, we got to be able to talk.
You have to.
Because that's what the thing is about. So I can't,
chemistry.
Some people, like, they fucking freeze in front of these mics.
They do. They're going to be freezing up on there. That's another thing, too. When we were setting up here, you were like, hey, hold this mic. And I'm like, oh, okay, like this or like that. But you're right. When that red light goes on and we're ready to rock, they're like, crickets chirping.
They're kind of short. Or they're like, I mean, realistically, people don't want to hear me every time on the podcast. I mean, sometimes when the conversation is, I think people like conversations that are bouncing back and forth,
Yes.
And sometimes, like, if you're telling your story, hey, this is your fucking floor, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so, like, there's a lot of aspects to it that I'm realizing. Interviewing skills.
Yeah.
Like, I've legit watched YouTube videos on how I'm such a nerd with this shit because I'm not a perfectionist, but
that is a good thing though.
I'm a person that doesn't want. I want to be the best me that I can be for the job I'm doing.
Right.
So, like I'm looking into all these different things. I've been trying to teach myself how to get rid of these comfort words. Like if you listen to the first 2 podcasts, I say and like. And if you listen to the podcast I did on myself, because there was no one else I was talking to,
Yep.
I had another comfort word that I used throughout the whole thing. And when I went back and listened to it, I was like, which I never do that before I release it. I always do it afterwards because I can't change it then.
Exactly.
And but now I'm conscious of it and I fix it.
Even in this podcast, like you'll hear me go, I sound like fucking, whatever.
You know what I do a lot?
Like
You know what I do a lot recently? A new one is I go.
Yep.
I suck my teeth a lot, and I'm like trying to stop shit like that. And so it's just you find you're you know how weird it is when you start hearing yourself, or you start, especially if we start doing videos, you start seeing mannerisms that you have because you don't see those when you're doing them.
Dude, without a doubt.
Next thing you know, you're like I think at the end of this, I'm going to be a much better speaker.
Yep.
Probably not. I'll be smarter in some aspects, but not quite like, legit nerd shit. You know what I mean?
Have you ever had a conversation where you're trying to talk to somebody and they'll ask you a question, right? And they'll say, okay, what about this? But then they'll ask you another question on top of that. They're like bombarding you with questions, right? And you're like, well, let me answer the first one first. Or you're tripping over words. You're trying to get something out and you guys are both talking at the same time. Like, even with public speaking too, when I first would see my stuff, when I would go in like corporate things and give speeches or whatnot, I'm like, dude, get your hands out of your pockets, man. What are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be in there like jiggling my car keys or anything, but I'm sitting there on stage with my hand in my pocket. I'm like, all right, loosen up, dude. Like, give yourself a break. But there has to be that where I got to shut the fuck up and let you talk.
Yeah.
And it's that thing, and that's a hard thing when you interview.
It's a practice thing, man.
I did that for what magazine was that for? It was a oh man, there's a Chopper magazine that's out there that I did an interview a long time ago. I did an audio interview, and it helped me too. And I was like, you know what?
Is it Dice, Chop, Cold, or Show Class?
Show Class, thank you. Show Class. I did a couple articles for them. I wrote up a couple things for them. Those guys are great, man. Those guys are really awesome. It was
maybe one day I'll get to be on Show Class.
Billy from Metal Helmets had asked me, he goes, hey, will you do this feature on this? He goes, I want you to interview an artist. And I did Scott Takis, who was
Scott Takes Underground or something like that.
Scott Takes Underground, and we had a great thing, and I recorded everything first, and he's like, you're going to record it? I'm like, yeah, because I'm going to go back and listen and try to figure out what bits and pieces I want out of this to make a well-written interview. I don't want something that people are going to be like, okay, this sucks.
You know what I started realizing is that when I'm working or I'm writing or doing anything other than doing a podcast, I work out. It's kind of like when you have an argument with somebody, but when you're having an argument, the words are not there.
Oh yeah.
But then as soon as you leave, you're like, should have told that bitch that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so that's the same thing. Like I do is it. Right. So I started writing that shit down, like on my phone. Like forcing myself to type it in my notes, and then before I'll do a podcast, especially if I'm doing an intro or something, I'll read it and I'll have it kind of memorized at that point. And it kind of helps me. One thing that I think that I'll get better at is finishing a thought to where you understand what the fuck I was talking about. And that's just something that, that's something you never think about. Like,
I'm all over the fucking map. I shift gears so fast.
Yeah, and I do the same thing.
I'm like Need for Speed, man. I'm like sitting there shifting gears. I'm like, wait a second. I didn't even finish the topic that I even brought up. That's totally wrong.
And I only noticed because I listened to someone else's podcast, and they started setting up something that I'm like, oh, yeah, dude, I want to know how he thinks about that. And then the conversation went somewhere else, and he never finished it. So now I'm like this cliffhanger of like a conversation that I'm never going to get his into that.
Right.
And so it's like, forcing yourself to understand, like, the things that you're passionate about, you should kind of have it well worded in your head already.
Absolutely.
To where you can, say it clearly so that you're getting your point across and people will be, they'll understand it, And the other thing that I have a hard time doing and I'm trying to get away from is starting a conversation and then acting it out as if somebody can see me.
That's right. That's why I said earlier with Rain nodding her head. I mean, you have to realize that, like your audience. I mean, they can't see her nodding her head or falling asleep or.
Yeah, so it's like you get on here and you're like, yeah, and I was just like doing this. You know what I mean? You start going off on this tangent that you don't realize that
your audience is going to see your mannerisms.
Yeah, they can't see your mannerisms. They can't tell when you're now the other person that you're talking about. It's all these different things that as this podcast grows,
Yep.
like these things are going to get worked out, you know. And fortunately, most people are like, dude, it's just good.
You're killing it, man.
You're giving us content, and that's cool. But
Yeah.
me, I'm like, you know, it's just like if it was a paint job. If this was a paint job,
Yes.
there are going to be people that like, you know, my brother's paint job, that when he shows you everybody the picture, people are going to like it.
Yeah.
But there are going to be people that like, hey, you know what, I want a little bit more quality, or I want not quality, but I want a little bit more style. Ability, this, that, and the
Sure,
other. And that's
sure.
where it becomes like his job to grow with it and to hone his skills and to be better. And this podcast shit is that, you know. I listen to other people's podcasts in the motorcycle industry for one, their knowledge, and B, inspiration or the competition of it.
Yeah.
Like I'm one of those guys like, hey dude, you should have a podcast, and my daughter should. I think everybody should, because I think if you might be able to find something that you can offer the world that might, you know, just be your opinion. And we're in the age of opinion, so
That's rad, dude. So you got into it from pretty much just from Ryan then? Would you say
Well,
like that was your trigger point?
Ryan was going to do it, and then I kept having my friends. One of my close friends, FXR Mike, told me to do it.
Yeah, because I remember I was talking to you offline.
Yeah.
And I was talking to you, I was in my tattoo shop, and I was like, you're going to do a podcast? That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Like, get the fuck out, dude. Really.
see, Ryan
and I
comes
thought
to-
maybe you were just talking about it,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden the next day it's like, hey, we got a podcast, we got this, and I see you behind the mic, and you have your headphones on and everything. I'm like, wow, he's doing this.
Yeah.
That's the attraction. That's what draws people in. Is the motivation.
Well,
man.
that's just
Fucking
one
doing
thing
something.
about who I am, is that, like, you know, if I get a thought and I don't act on it soon enough, then it'll either I'll talk myself
Dissipate.
out of it or dissipate, or it'll never happen. So
Yeah.
it's better to kind of jump prematurely at ideas,
Yeah.
and as you're doing them, you can kind of gauge whether or not this idea's got
Man, and I love listening to Jesse. Like, I look at it like a TV show. Like, each person has their own character
Yeah,
and stuff
yeah.
like that. You know what I mean? And he's fucking hilarious. And I think that's really cool that you're going to look. And I know he's your brother and he's a pain in your ass. And I get
Big-
that.
big
I mean, I
pain
have
in the
it
ass.
totally, right? And you're taking him under the wing, and, you know, you're teaching him the paint world and everything. You and I had talked a little bit offline about, you know, where we're just handing people stuff and they don't really appreciate it. I think Jesse will see that, you know, down the road. He'll be like, wow, get the fuck out. Look what he did for me.
Yeah,
You know
I
what
mean, he does. Jesse's a conniving little motherfucker. You know what I mean? That's what he is. He's just he's smart as shit, but he can play the dumb card. He understands that stuff. But you know, the thing is, he's been living in my shadow, I guess is the weird way to say it, but he's been living there. That I understand that
He's
you
going
know,
to punch you in the face when he sees you.
yeah. Well, I get it, man. Like it's a weird place to be. Like I didn't have an older brother that created any type of success for himself that also paved any kind of ways for me. So I don't fully understand like his, you know, how he feels. I really don't.
Right.
I just look at it like, hey, motherfucker, like I figured this shit out for you, and you know you should be a little more grateful. You know, I'm a little more cut and dry with it, but
Yeah.
you know, I'm proud that he's doing his own shit. He's at least trying, because it was kind of a joke to me. Like, how the fuck have you been working in a custom paint shop for, I don't know, off and on for fucking 10 years almost, and you've never, at least that I know of, tried to lay out a flame or anything?
Right.
Like, you know, it's like, dude, like, are you wasting your time being here? Or, you know, if this is just a job for you, then don't do this anymore.
It'll be cool to see it. I think that's very well said, what you just fucking said. If this becomes a job, if it becomes something that you really fucking hate, well, there's a lot more things that you could hate in a job and go make more money doing. Because in this paint world, a lot of times people are like, you know, hey, man, like, they don't see it. Like, I'm not out there making, like, bling money. You know what I mean? Like, I'm
Yeah.
hustling every day. And you can make a good living being a custom painter.
Yeah.
High five. We get it. But
It's rockstar tattoo money, though. It's that money that you're like, oh shit, this isn't all mine, so I have to give 30% of this to this guy.
fuck yeah.
That's
To a
the
landlord,
that's the part that
AC
people
bill,
don't think about.
all this other stuff, and then you get the small percentile, then you got the IRS, you got taxes, you got a lot of other stuff that you can have for it. So people are like, oh, you're lucky, you have a company and you're growing and all this. Yeah, guess what, motherfucker?
That fucking guy working at those you know paint centers that you know across America, whatever the brand is,
Fuck yeah.
that still has paint skills. They can bang out a tank or two on the weekend.
That's right.
Is the guy making all the money, because
That's
he's
right.
got he's got the taxes
Yep.
and maybe the benefits,
Exactly.
but he also has the skills to where he can go do some shit on the side and bang out some good money.
When I first met one of my really good friends, Brandon Walker from Walker's Way. Brandon was painting TT cars for Jesse James when I met him, and he hit me up. He was like, "Hey man, you're in Arizona. I want to come get some flake from you." And I went over to his garage and I met with him, and we just clicked. He was super rad dude from the first hello, and I was like, "All right, dude, you're good people." And he was like, "You know what, man?" He goes, "It's smart, dude, because you're custom painting, but you figured out a way to make a substitute income on this." And I'm like, "Shit, I hope so." And then we grew it, and we grew Paint Huffer, and Paint Huffer's, shit, dude, we're up 108% where we were last year, which is incredible. Our numbers are going through the fucking
doing way better
roof.
than Harley.
Dude, we are fucking, and Harley, is that what you said? Yeah, and I love Harley. I think, and I'll touch on that in a second. Let's talk about finishing, things. That's where I get bad at. But I'll touch on my own thoughts about Harley here in a second. But no, and we're blessed that way. I mean, we definitely, I could sit here and say we take care of the customer till I'm blue in the face. We do. It's obvious, and we have some new products which are, you got to keep it fresh, man. You got to come out with new colors and new pearls and really hit it hard that way. I think let's talk about Harley for a second. I think Harley is almost confused and a little bit out of touch in a sense here, because I was listening to one of your podcasts, I think it was last night, and one of you guys were talking about how maybe it was the engineers that came over from Yamaha or Honda that were starting to design some of these bikes.
Well, I said that it seems like possibly one of...
I agree to 120% that's kind of going that direction, where you're taking somebody who's really not in the mix, who is not, and I always say concert or mosh pit because I'm a huge music fan, but you're taking somebody who just went and saw the Spice Girls, and you're pulling them out of that Spice Girls concert and put them into a Slayer mosh pit. And you're like, okay,
yeah, because
what the fuck are you thinking?
Music is a perfect reference to this, because it's the same thing we've always saw from a lot of our favorite bands growing up. You listen to Metallica from the 80s and early 90s,
fucking amazing.
Nothing. And then you hear some of the newer stuff, they still got the same kind of thing, but it's like they're trying to compete with a different crowd.
They're trying to compete with Creed. Like, what the fuck are you guys doing? What happened?
And beyond my knowledge totally, but is there, could they still have the same sound they had in the 80s now?
Right. And that's the same thing with Harley. I get that. And I see your point on that.
No, I think that they could.
I do too.
I think that they could. I don't know how to do it as a musician. Obviously you want to evolve as a human and as a company, but the one argument that I put up that I still haven't, my buddy FXR Mike put up a post on Instagram that was kind of I wouldn't say against what I said, but kind of, and I love to do the death, so that's why I'm glad that guys like him are out there challenging thought. But I still think that, I don't necessarily think that Harley should have made another FXR.
Right.
But maybe they should have. I just think that why is it so hard to why can't they keep a model around? Why can't they evolve a model like a Camaro was or a Ford was? It might the fucking, it's so evident, the Charger and the Challenger were a very popular car in an era, and then they got rid of it because of different things, gas and things like that.
Absolutely.
But that car saved their company.
Yes, without a doubt.
It saved the company by retroing.
Right.
At some point, that's the same thing that happens in our custom paint industry. We get to a point where the style is so much that we go back. Maybe it's 4 years, maybe it's 40 years, and we pick up something that was done, and we do it now, but with now's technology, resources, and skills. You look at a panel paint job from now, for most parts, even the basics of the basics, they're still 10 times better than the ones done in the 70s.
That's so true. So true.
So why is it so hard for anybody to just find it? Here's the deal. Harley might not have had the best welcome, Matt, when the FXR came out in the 80s.
Right.
Well, right now, it's the fucking it's the bike that everybody, nobody pulls up on FXR and gets made fun of.
No. You know what? Where I checked out, I had I still have it, a 78 shovel, and then I had a 2000. I bought a Softail, just a basic Softail model, and I rode the shit out of it. And then in 03, I bought the Fat Boy, and some of it I fucking hate, and some of it I like. It's all right. But where I checked out with Harley was the V-Rod. The V-Rod came in, and I was like, I'm fucking embarrassed. I'm fucking out of this. I get it. You guys want to make this futuristic looking, I don't know. It's just, it was just annoying. And I'm like, what the fuck happened? And I literally checked out. And I'm like, I'm the type of guy, like I said, man, I ride everywhere. And I was like, I don't even want to look at the new models. I don't care what's the model. When you and I first met, we talked. I'm like, what is this? What is that? I don't even stay in. I mean, I ride. That's it. You know what I mean? Like, I just go on from there. But
you're the majority of consumers that aren't. It's not your business to be that involved. Conversely, into what's going on, you know what I mean?
I know what I like. I want to ride it. That's it. I'm going to go, but I don't want to look at this new V rod or whatever it was at that time. I was just like, oh my god, you guys are get out of here. And then they did like the Fat Boy Low and all this other stuff, and I'm like, all right, I think you guys are a little bit disconnected. It seems like their market was for like these nerdy, I don't know, like engineers, like I used to be, you know, the corporate guys who were just kind of like, I don't know, their style was kind of whack, and I'm like, man.
Everybody said it best. I don't know who coined this term, but you even just said it. They're just out of touch.
They are, dude.
They're not.
Yeah.
And whoever's making, I don't know. Like, I'm more embarrassed that like certain people are scared to say that.
You know what's funny too is because when I was an engineer, I was living up in Santa Clara, and I went down to Gilroy to the Indian factory, and I bought. It was an S&S motor. I bought a Scout, and it was the biggest piece of shit because of the wiring harness was fucked on it. I mean, everything about that bike was just a shithole. And I get it why they closed down. They got out of it, and I was like, okay, but I liked the looks of it. I thought they were onto a decent thing. And then the new Indians, when they started coming out, when I think it's Polaris that owns them now, right? They took over. When they first started hitting through a few years ago, I was like, the fuck is this? And I'm just telling you my own fucking opinion. But I was like, nope, sorry, Indian, I'm out. You know what I mean?
I mean, their bikes seem plastic when they came out.
Coming into and then now I look over and I'm looking at some of their stuff now, and it's grown on me. I'm like, okay, cool. You know what I mean? It's just I dig the direction that they're going, and I think that they're definitely putting their thumb on the pulse of what needs to be or what people like. Give them what they fucking like.
You know, they have. I think Indian has a. Harley just made it to where the market is wide open for Indian to come in and do it. And the podcast we did, the 4 hours and 40 minute one we just did, John said it best. If Indian would just tone it back on the over styling of the bikes and leave some of it open to the customer how they want to do it, to where. And to make sure that these bikes have the ability to be travel ready,
right,
or city ready, or whatever. I think that's what the younger market wants. They don't want. He said it best again. They want a Swiss Army knife. They want to buy one knife that does everything. That fucking brushes their teeth.
Right.
Takes a fucking 10mm bolt off.
Yep.
Takes a wine bottle off. They want something that they can do more than one thing, and especially with a $20,000 price tag, it needs to be versatile. It needs to be able to be a bobber if they want it to be a bobber, or a fucking bagger if they want a bagger, or a fucking wheelie, California bro kind of bike.
Yep.
It needs to be all that, and they had that, and they're shying away from that for whatever their personal reasons are. But like I said, maybe they're looking at this industry from a pair of glasses that we're not privy to. I don't know. But I don't see it. I'm old now. Like, you remember when you were a kid and you just felt like parents knew everything and nothing they did were wrong, and then you become a parent or you become an adult,
right?
And you're like, fuck, man, every day my life is a little bit weird. Like, I don't know if I did this right.
Right.
They're the same thing.
Yeah, totally.
They're a company that can make mistakes. They can go the wrong way. They've done it before. They've had to be bailed out by AMF before, and these are things that happens.
Yeah.
And they're going down. I still love Harley to death.
Oh, I love. I mean, you look in here. I mean,
they're going the wrong way.
Yeah, they are.
And they're going to hit the bottom. And fortunately, they gave us something great, which is a Dyna, is an FXR, and multiple baggers that are amazing bikes that we can play with while they figure out their gender, what they're going to identify as. You know what I mean? That's just what it is. And we have to pressure them. We have to have these conversations, and we have to make the consumer think, man, I don't know, man, maybe those Fast Life guys are right. Maybe Harley should just, pick a line and stick with it and evolve it like they're doing their baggers and their Softails.
I just bought a Road Glide a few months ago, and I love it. I mean, it came with like, you know, the ABS and the alarm system on there and everything. And there was a dealership out here in Scottsdale that I go to, and those guys always take care of me and they hook it up. But and I like it. It's a great bike. And I bought my wife a trike, and she's learning how to ride and whatnot on there. So the quality's there, but damn, the fucking prices.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, come on, guys. Are you fucking kidding me? So you can tell when a company is definitely hurting in a market like that. I mean, it's cost of rising.
You know what we do? We downsize. We downsize, and that's
exactly.
And sometimes when you build a big business, you know, and this is one thing I noticed and heard from other podcasts, sometimes you find yourself growing faster than you're able to stick. This year, 100% that I grew faster than I was able to produce.
Man.
And so sometimes you have to, you have to downsize because you can't handle the demand.
Oh, hell yeah.
But all that does is create a bigger demand. So that's a good thing to happen in a sense.
Absolutely.
Or it's also another way it can make you realize that maybe there's something else you can provide to these people that want something for you.
Right.
Maybe it is a network of, like you doing, giving, options of other people to get this work done from.
Yeah,
You know?
it's a great thing, man. When somebody hits me up and they're like, hey, man, who do you know this guy over here in, Michigan or Florida or New York or whatever, and I can say, yeah, you know what? I can help this and put money in their pocket, and it's a really awesome network platform thing that we have that we're growing. I'm stoked. I mean, I'm stoked every day of where it's going, and it came out of nothing. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like I went banging on doors and tried to convince these guys or convince these painters and say, hey, man, come on, join my team. I'm glad that you guys all gave me a shot, you know what I mean, and trusted. And that's something that I'm like, fuck, dude, I can't let these guys down.
Same thing with me.
I won't let you down. And I know that you're that type of person.
Yeah.
Because, dude, I mean, you're here. I mean, this is kind of like your time away with your daughter, but you're working, you know what I mean? You and I are workaholics. I mean, whether we like to say that or not, that word, I don't mind it. Fine, whatever. Say whatever you want about it, but we're having a blast. I mean, it's cool. I mean, this is awesome, man. I'm stoked. I'm beyond stoked. I can't wait to see where we go. I can't wait to see where you go in the next year. I'm proud of you, brother.
I appreciate it, man. So anything else coming out before we wrap this thing up? Because we're almost at 3, so.
We got SEMA. I'm going to be at SEMA this year.
SEMA?
I don't have a booth this year. A lot of people are asking that. They're like, hey, is Paint Huffer doing a booth? We're not doing a booth yet because, like I said, I still have the intercoats, the clears. I've got some other irons in the fire that'll be really cool that you guys will see. Like we'll touch on and go from there.
SEMA ain't cheap.
SEMA's not cheap, and it's a cool thing. I mean, I think it's a great way. You know, and I had a kind of a, I don't know, I was kind of a teeter-totter about it a little bit. I didn't know if I wanted to go or if we needed to go because, right now, it's not.
I don't think you do.
I'm not looking for distributors. You know what I mean? I've got distributors in all over the world. We're fine on that. I'm not trying to go out and sell the brand and say, guys, look at me. Please look at me. I'm not like the guy in the Jack in the Box commercial, out there selling the tog. All I need is one. Like we have corporate companies that are backing us and that are taking care of us and that help us pay for all this. It's not cheap. But no, man, we're going to keep on coming out. Pearls. I see this whole wave of new things with these pearls coming out that I really am excited about. I want to get into that more, really start hitting on that more. We've got some cool colors coming out. You won't see me do candies. I think House of Color really nailed that.
You know what I really wish, and this is just my opinion.
Yeah.
I think that, like me personally, the pinstriping I do was always done with House of Color because I grew up in that way. I didn't grow up in that old one-shot way.
Yep.
I wish that there was more variety of those urethane-based pinstripe.
Interesting you say that.
A lot of people that I've heard
of
have
something
always.
we're going to touch base on. Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of other companies that are coming out right now.
Like Matrix tried to do it.
Right.
And like I said, they were really pushing and they had a whole line.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
But it wasn't perfected yet. I got a whole set.
Right.
I had nothing but problems with it.
Exactly.
And I like I said, I did my part to try to help those products, just like you said with Schultz.
Yep.
But I think that like one of the biggest problems, and it goes back to even talking about how we were just talking about Harley.
Mm-hmm.
House of Color has a lot of great products.
Yes.
They should, instead of like trying to create a new way to get the same product, they should have been just creating a bigger line.
That's it.
So
exactly.
Instead of getting rid of colors, pinstripe colors that might not have been popular in 05 that are now the most popular thing in 15 or 16 or 17.
Yep.
Just keep them.
Keep them.
You know,
Keep
because
them on there.
I'm having to go around and look for aqua
Exactly.
at all these different places in different warehouses all across the country and stockpile them,
Yeah.
or make them myself. But if there was if House of Color or anybody just created a urethane base, or even the Hot Hues is a good one.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, yes.
A little
Absolutely.
bit of both.
Yep.
You know.
Exactly. There's companies out right now who, I'm not going to say names or anything, that are doing that, but they haven't field tested them. And they got caught once on that because they came out with their own clear coats and inner coats, and they delambed, and it almost shut them down. And they're
Yeah.
looking at like, you know, what the fuck? You know, and it's like, okay, guys, you should have gone out there and found an artist who was a reputable artist, not Joe Blow down the street. Somebody who everybody in the industry is going to trust. Okay, I trust his opinion. He knows what he's doing. He's made a name for himself. Here we go. Then you take it, you field test it, and you say, you know what? Well, it worked. Or it didn't work. Let's change it and revise it. And you run the shit out of it.
You know, you seen those new guns that just came out from like Italy, the Carbona or something like
I
that?
saw you trying one of those.
I
Did you
sprayed
like
it
it?
once.
Yeah?
I sprayed it once, and I haven't had a chance to spray it again.
Okay.
Because the first time I didn't have a good experience with it.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay. Yeah.
in the guns, you know, as of now, the gun's defense, I used the wrong hardener for the temperature for the clear I was spraying, so I didn't get the
Okay.
finish I was wanting.
Okay.
And because I wasn't sure if it was me error or that I just didn't do well with the gun,
Yep.
I was like, I'm gonna wait till I finish these projects because I don't have time to be fucking up right now. I need to get them done, need to be right and out the door. So when I go back, I'm gonna try the clear with it again and see how it is. I love the gun.
Mm-hmm.
It has it's a lot of different technology in there than other ones, but you know, like I said, I'm gonna give it one more shot, another clear,
Yep.
make sure all the conditions are right, and then, you know, before I really put my opinion out there.
Do you think that you would have had a better opinion about that if you would have seen maybe 5 artists use that and they were like, oh my God, this is great? They would have field tested it at least?
See, that goes back to a bigger point of what I'm trying to do to know, like, actual financial gain, just in general. But when more of us artists are together talking, we're able to share things like that. So I know that if, you know, Gerald from Valley Customs, if I have a question, he answers it for me.
Oh, yeah.
But we respect each other. It's not like I'm hitting the dude up going, hey, dude, how do you do silverleaf?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I've
Yeah.
proved myself in my industry as well as he has.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's spraying the gun and I say, hey, man, what do you think, honestly, between me and you?
Absolutely.
And he's like, okay, I think this. But
And
you
that's
gotta
what's going to
spray-
make or break a company.
Yeah, you got to be able to, you know, maybe it's like this kind of gun needs to be sprayed with a complete open, you know, fluid nozzle.
Sure.
Or this one needs to be kind of regulated hardcore. This one sprays better at higher pressure. You know what I mean? Those
Yeah.
are the kind of questions
Keep your PSI
that you get from guys like
pressure
me
low.
and him and stuff like that. I mean, or car guys. I mean, obviously they're not making these guns for us custom painters. We're too small, but,
Yeah.
you know.
I'm a huge fan of that field testing. Before you bring out something, don't just rush it and get out there just
I
for
reached
the
out to
money
the company when I saw him come on Instagram. I was like, hey, dude, your product looks nice. You know, I'd love to test them out for you. No response.
Yeah.
Well, then my jobber had one. He goes, hey, you want to try this gun out? I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
It's like so funny how,
Yeah.
you know,
I think
it's
that's-
weird how that works. But,
And
I mean, I get it.
could
They
say
can track they can track it at the jobber. I wouldn't necessarily want them to give it to me because that would almost like require me to say the gun's great because they gave me a gun.
Yeah. Now you're all of a sudden you're Shaquille
Yeah.
O'Neal doing a soap commercial or something like that. You're like, give me a break, dude. Whatever. But
Yeah,
like,
so-
it's counterfeit. But no, I agree. I think a company can be made. I would rather field test the shit out of it, give you guys all stuff, and be like, hey man, what's your
Or
honest
just-
fucking opinion?
Or just, man, like I even think like maybe like, because, you know, my buddy Mark said this great, and it's like, you know, when you start getting sponsored by certain things, you know, especially tools
Yes.
or things like that have a workability to them,
Right.
like you have to be able to be honest, man. Like otherwise,
Yeah.
like if I'm telling you this gun's great and everybody that goes and buys one is like,
Yeah.
dude, this gun sucks.
Yeah, it's integrity of product.
Now my integrity of
Yours
standing
gonna
behind
be-
a product is
you're looking
shit.
Like, does this guy even know what he's talking about? Right. That's exactly. I think that's happened with some companies recently where they've just launched stuff out really quick. That all they're caring about is making that quick dollar, and they're going, "Oh, these guys are rookie painters. They're in their garage or whatever." And these guys in the garage don't have the knowledge, the same knowledge as an expert like yourself or somebody else who has a higher knowledge.
I know experts that are
but-
better than me, so that even if I can't figure it out, I can get the right stuff.
Right, and that's going to build up their confidence too, because you're not like, okay, well, this guy's having problems with it because he's just a ding dong and doesn't know what he's doing, or is it really that the product is cheap and it's that way? But
it might be just a better gun for like doing custom paint. Like that is a legit thing. So like, we're trying to slick stuff out. Some companies are trying to clear stuff with the right amount of orange peel for the factory. That's
exactly. That's a whole
thing.
different entity. That's very well said.
So a gun might be more ideal for our application, and that's the thing that these fucking people don't think about.
That's right. I see companies like there's other companies, even other flake companies that are producing their own colors and doing all this stuff on there, and I'm like, you didn't even field test it. You didn't even try. You didn't even go out there and try to give this to somebody who's solid on there. If it comes out of Paint Huffer, I've already hit a home run, and we keep doing it with our products that we're introducing and coming out from there, because I'll be damned if I'm not going to test it first or run it through something first and make sure that we have the right, illuminance. We're not going to make sure that we have the right bleed factor of it. I want it to be UV coated. I want it to be perfect. But if I launch something, oh yeah, it's going to be solid, and I want it to be solid. Now, I could sit over here on my soapbox and scream all I want about it, but like you said, offline to your buddy, like, hey man, is this really good? That's it. Yeah. Those are the guys that are going to make or break your company on there. And I think the more that you work with an artist, and really that's where House of Color really dropped the ball. They should have gone in there and said, hey, look, here's our 20 guys that we're going to go to, and just boom, boom, boom. What do you guys need?
Yeah, they have the ability to pick 20 guys.
Yeah. But don't take a guy to SEMA and then not just for show. Like, oh, hey, look, we have an artist. Here he is.
But he's not as important as the TV guys that were here.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. There's no love. It's counterfeit.
I guess Ryan from Counts Customs, he's coming to Texas, and I got invited from Matrix. I'm going to try to get him on the podcast. I think it'd be cool to do it. And I'm not, once again, nothing bad about Ryan. He's a great painter. But to me, maybe it's a little jealousy. I ain't gonna lie. You have these painters, especially I got Gas Monkey in my backyard. All of a sudden, if you paint for Gas Monkey, you're the best painter in the world. Whoa, dude! Like some of these guys started painting well after I did, and can't do none of the shit I can do. But at the same time, it's like what I'm trying to say is they got a good gig, cool. But when corporate America puts this level on these guys, like they're on something that they're not.
They're so out of touch.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, like, come on now.
Yeah, you guys
think about it. Like, this dude's on TV, and he's popular because he's on TV.
Right.
This dude might be hustling his craft every day, and even though this is sad to say, but social media numbers are kind of like our game standpoint in life. Like, if you're in a video game, like, oh, I'm level fucking 43, and you know what I mean. So think about it. If you're on TV and you're only 50,000 followers, you've got 9 seasons or 5 seasons, and I've never been on dick, and I'm almost there with you.
Yep.
Like, I'd rather have my following that I earned because I busted my ass with my skills, and not just because I was on TV or I was guest starring on Richard Wallen's whatever. Like that. That's why ridiculous. That's a big like.
Yeah.
I would hate to have that false sense of people liking me. You know what I mean?
When House of Color first started putting up pictures of our flake, the first one, and I had talked to that lady that worked for them, and I was like, hey, what are you doing? She goes, it's 2 college kids that just got out of school that are sitting in a cubicle that are doing our social media. They have no clue about the painting. So they were putting up that flake, exclamation point. And I'm like, yeah, thank you. That's awesome. And I'm responding on there. I'm like, hey, thanks a lot. I appreciate that. I'm responding to somebody who has a knowledge of, like Mike Taylor. Mike Taylor from House of Color, right?
I love that dude.
Yeah, me too. And I'm thinking I'm responding to somebody like him, and it's, it's Mr. or Mrs. College person that just got out 3 days ago.
That's why, like Simpson, Scott, the guy that runs their social media, he's also their product development guy.
Nice.
That's the kind of guy you need running social media.
Yes.
And that's, unfortunately, in this day and age,
a rarity.
It's sad that, now you also have to wear the hat of promoting, marketing, and all that stuff. But fuck it, man. Like, that's what you got to do.
I'm an octopus. I do 20 different things. Like, right now, when you guys leave and you get back on the freeway here to go from there, my ass is here till 2 a.m, no doubt about it. I'm not complaining. High five. I'm answering questions. We're doing orders. We're doing whatever things in there. But I love it. It's rad. It's I wouldn't have it any other way. And I think I'm gonna get to a point where I'm gonna get old and I can't do it anymore. I'm gonna have to find somebody else that has a passion about it. I can't go to some college kid and say, "Hey, you want a job?" Or here's some marketing person who has zero fucks about the industry.
Well, if we post at 4:00 and we make this about us and then this one about the product,
totally.
There's all these these thoughts of how to do it right, but realistically, man, just
fucking do it. Just fucking do it, dude.
Nike. I got to wrap this thing up. So
absolutely, brother. I'm
anything
so
else?
glad.
Paint Huffer, MetalFlake.
PaintHuffer.com. Paint Huffer MetalFlake.
Sale coming this week.
Sale, dude. Labor Day weekend. We got a huge sale. Huge. We got Trulers. We were the first supplier here in the U.S. to start selling them. Those guys are amazing. So we got some good stuff coming down the pike. We may have a new color coming out maybe tomorrow. I can't really say anything yet, but you guys want to stay tuned on that. I don't know. It's been an honor, man. I'm glad. I'm finally glad we got the chance to sit down and do this.
It's the third time I went to California this year, and the first two we missed each other.
I was going out to a guitar company in California, and you had called. You're like, "Well, shit. I think I'm going to go over to Dixon, then, or I'm going to go somewhere. I'm not going to waste my time in Arizona." And I was like, "No, don't do that." And then you had a great podcast, and then I think you and I talked a couple other times offline. Like last week, we talked for an hour and a half. We're like, "Dude, we should wait and talk on the air." But I think you and I just have good chemistry. We can talk, dude. Shit, we're talkers. Well, say hi to Jesse for me, too. I'm proud to see him coming in. I can't wait to see his work. I want to see what he does. Yeah. It's exciting, man.
It'd be nice to see it.
You got a great thing going here, buddy. I'm so proud of you, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Beyond proud.
Well, thank you for supporting it, man.
Dude, I will support you till the wheels fall off. I'm that way, man. We are hardcore like that.
All right, dude.
Thank you.
Thanks. How'd you guys like that? Brian's a rad dude, isn't he? He's been around the block, I guess. I don't know if that's the right term, but it sounds like it's accurate. Anyway, thank you, Brian, for like I said just now, supporting us since pretty much day one in our business and in our podcast. It's awesome of you, man. I appreciate it. So as always, let's just say thanks, man. Let's say thanks to Texas Performance MC, TexasPerformanceMC.com, Paint Huffer MetalFlake on Instagram, and PaintHuffer.com. Hard drive. Well, I'm skipping them. My bad. Horsepower Inc. HorsepowerInc.net. Horsepower Inc. on Instagram, and Horsepower Inc. Indie on Facebook, as well as Hard Drive Parts on Instagram. Sorry, it's early. And HDTwin.com. Check out all our sponsors. Check them out if you see them, if you talk to them online, if anything, just let them know you hear about them through the podcast. Helps us track this, helps us know or show our sponsors if it's working or anything like that. So also, don't forget, us, the Fast Life Garage, we're hosting a camp out September 7th through the 9th at Moyers, Oklahoma. It's K River Campground. I hope you guys come out, man. Like, I can't stress enough, like, I said a lot in this podcast, but I can't stress enough that, to have fun in life, you just have to do shit that's inconvenient sometimes, or convenient or whatever. Or you got to, you just got to try shit, man. Get out there and give it a chance, you know what I mean? So I hope you guys come out. I hope to meet a lot of you. If you decide to come, you don't have to set anything up. Just come out. When you're checking in, just say you're here for the Fast Life Camp Out. It's $15 a night per tent. So if you and your chick or you and your homies want to get a little weird in a tent, that's cool, and it falls under that price range. But come out, man. Friday, Saturday, it's gonna be a blast. I can't wait to. I'm gonna geek out. I'm gonna have all my best friends from all my facets of life. My podcast friends, my Envelope homies, my other trusted advisors in life, and my family, my chick. I'm gonna have a blast. So, honestly, I'm set. All my favorite people are coming. I'm just hoping to meet some of you guys, and you guys can also become some of my favorite people. So anyway, check that out. Hope to see you guys there. Also, I want to thank all of you who have been supporting us on Patreon. It's growing, and it needed to keep growing, man. I really do. I'm trying to move forward with this podcast and with this media aspect of our business to much higher depths. I mean, I'm sitting here in California right now doing podcasts. I'm trying to bring to you, some people that I think are rad that you're going to want to hear. And, I don't really want to spill too much details about this trip, but it's kind of a shitty trip. I'm making the best of it with my daughter. That part is awesome, but the circumstances are shit, business wise. And I'm here and getting rid of some projects that I'd been trying to get rid of. And right now that Patreon comes in handy, especially when I'm out here, doing podcasts with, driving all over fucking California left and right. Gas is fucking expensive up here. So anyway, I don't want to rant too much about it. I just want to thank you guys for what you have been doing. Continue to share it on Instagram. Continue to share it on Facebook or, MySpace, whatever the fuck you're into, right? And thank you. I really cannot say enough. This thing's been growing like really, really fast, and it's awesome. Also, if you are a Patreon, you have seen on there that once we hit 500 donations or $500 a month, we're going to give away a custom painted Simpson helmet to that person. And we're going to start giving away a lot more giveaways in general. So, and the only way you're going to be able to get any of that shit is if you're a Patreon. So if you're $1 a month, fuck yeah. If you listen to this podcast regularly, what is $10? What is $5? What is $1? You know what I mean? Come on, help me out. I hate asking for money. That's so stupid, right? I feel like a panhandler. But I'm actually working for it, right? I think. I don't know. Anyway, enough about that. I hope you guys have a great week. Don't know when I'm releasing this. Hopefully today, which is Tuesday. But if not, yeah. I don't know. Have a good week, good weekend. Hopefully I'll be bringing a lot of podcasts from my friends out here in California to you for the next couple of weeks. We got a great road tripping episode coming up. If you haven't followed Thirsty Taylor yet on Instagram, he just did a fucking amazing trip, and he's still on his way home now from Dallas-Fort Worth to the netherworlds of Alaska, and he's coming on his way back. So if you're interested in all this adventure riding shit that we've been kind of discussing, especially on the Purpose Built, follow this guy, man. That way, when he's talking about some of his stories on this journey, you're going to be able to follow along or remember it or whatever. So check it out, Thirsty Taylor on Instagram. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else I need to plug, man. Yeah, just thank you guys for doing everything. Fuck yeah, rock on.